Ryan's father thought that by giving his daughter the most noble position, she would be happy. However, political marriages lack love. The crown prince became infatuated with a princess taken hostage from a foreign land. From then on, an unprecedented tyranny began. Riots broke out due to the preferential treatment given to the hostage princess's home country. The incompetent prince sent the retired Marquis Link to fight in his place. "I will go to war for you, but please sort out your relationship with Princess Canary." This was Ryan's father's only request. Soon, Duke Link returned in a cold coffin. Ryan was sent to the Helka territory to endure 15 years of hardship. Until his death, he clung to his father's sword, desperately begging the gods for a chance for revenge. Ryan opened her eyes and returned to the day her father's body came back. The crown prince also came at this time to break off the engagement. "Is this the appropriate place to say such things? In front of my father's coffin? My father sacrificed himself for you." The crown prince stated that this loyalty and honor would be compensated, plus compensation for emotional distress. The crown prince said with a laugh, "Will 1 million plus the Helka territory be enough?" Not only would he not fulfill his promise to the duke, but he also planned to depose the crown princess and banish her. A life for a life. Bring me Princess Canary's life. Ryan didn't think that would be equal to her father's life. Her father died because of the princess's demands. At least cutting off the princess's wrists would be some consolation, Ryan said, unyielding. The crown prince disagreed and berated Ryan for being inhumane. "If you're not willing, then let's change the terms. Give me your neck. I'll chop it off and feed it to the dogs, and then I'll be satisfied." "You bastard." Ryan fiercely grabbed the crown prince's collar. The unreasonable crown prince, enraged, knocked Ryan to the ground. "You're talking nonsense. It seems you've gone mad, not just lost your father." He stormed off, not forgetting to reiterate the purpose of his visit. "Expect the royal palace to break off the engagement. You, a madwoman, have no say in the matter. This scum won't have a change of heart." Ryan picked up a sword and stabbed the crown prince's leg. It was a pity she couldn't stab his heart. The crown prince collapsed on the ground, terrified and furious. "Someone seize Reinhard. How dare she stab me? Don't call my name. That's the precious name my father gave me." Ryan raised her sword again. The emperor wanted the female lead to stab him. Unexpectedly, the female lead was saved by the crown prince's former mad dog. Having lost her father, Ryan had no value. Not only was she stripped of her title as crown princess, but her family's rights and property were also completely confiscated. Furthermore, she was exiled to her mother's territory. It was a barren land where snow fell for half the year. Ryan burst out laughing when she saw the crown prince on crutches. The crown prince, who loved to prance around, could now hop to his heart's content on one leg. Seeing Ryan's arrogance, the crown prince wished he could cut her into 1,000 pieces. However, for the sake of his prestige, the emperor didn't dare to directly attack the daughter of a meritorious official. He could only angrily reprimand the prince for his incompetence, and sending her away on this journey was the best option. Ryan's maid hired an escort for her. This escort was not a trustworthy person. Halfway through the journey, he tried to rob Ryan of all her belongings. Ryan didn't want to lose the life her father had earned for her in vain. She told him to take the things and get lost. Bad people are best at pushing their luck. He also wanted to have his way with Ryan. Ryan spat in his face and snarled at him to get lost. "Do you still think you're the crown princess?" Her haughty demeanor enraged him. He laid his hands on her and threatened her with his sword. "You'll regret this," Ryan said, afraid but feigning composure. The next second, she saw the bandit collapse, clutching his head. She didn't know what had happened, but now wasn't the time to think about other things. She grabbed her sword and seized the opportunity to finish him off. After confirming he wasn't breathing, she collapsed to the ground. Only then did she see the blood-stained fruit on the ground. This was the weapon that had helped her. The fruit had come from the rustling bushes. Who was hiding there? Ryan became wary. Unexpectedly, a child emerged. Ryan encountered the crown prince's former mad dog, but she didn't recognize him and even considered taking him home. Ryan watched the child emerge from the bushes, but she didn't let her guard down. She had heard that the barbarians of the northern mountains often used children as bait. "Don't come any closer, or I'll cut you down." Ryan gripped her sword tightly, not daring to let him approach. One wrong move, and she could become someone's winter provisions. The child, however, ignored her warning and ran towards her. Ryan was so scared her soul almost left her body. She swung her sword fiercely. "I told you not to come closer." The child caught the blade with his bare hand, completely unfazed. With his other hand, he grabbed Ryan's hand and licked it. "He's already starting to eat me." Ryan's eyes widened and she froze. He was only licking the blood. Ryan's hand had been injured earlier, and he was only tending to her wound. Ryan breathed a sigh of relief and asked if he had thrown the frozen pear on the ground. The child obediently nodded. Ryan apologized sincerely, but he didn't seem to understand her words. Ryan had no choice but to bandage his wounds first. The bandages and the map were soaked in blood and ruin. Ryan couldn't help but curse. The child was startled, thinking she was yelling at him. He hung his head anxiously. Seeing Ryan's outstretched hand, he covered his face and backed away. Ryan softly reassured him, stroking his head. "I won't hit you. Thank you for saving me." The child's face flushed with emotion. He had never met anyone so gentle. As the sun began to set, Ryan consulted the map to find the approximate location of the road. The child stopped her from leaving. After a moment of internal struggle, she decided to follow the child. After walking for 2 hours, they could finally see the road. The two found a cave to spend the night. Ryan started a fire with flint and steel, and the child watched and learned. Ryan looked at his small back. He was so tiny and couldn't speak. Although she didn't know where he came from or what he did, she decided to take him to Ruden and educate him. The Crown Prince's former mad dog could be won over with just a piece of bread. They finally arrived at the city gates. However, the child hated the city and refused to go in. He even startled the guards, who usually had nothing to do. He wouldn't listen to any persuasion. Just then, she saw a passerby with bread and had a bright idea. "Hey, will you sell me those 2 pieces of bread?" Looking at the bread in her hand, the child drooled. She held the bread and showed the child how to eat it, then handed it to him. The child imitated her, a happy smile spreading across his face. Seeing him enjoying the food, Ryan gave him the other piece as well. She also took the opportunity to pat his furry head and told him, "This is bread. If you follow me, you'll have bread to eat." Just like that, the child was successfully lured into the city. The child looked at the woman before him, who seemed like an angel. Blushing, he lowered his head and softly agreed. The woman's name was Sarah. Her family had been responsible for managing Ruden for generations. Seeing the new lord arrive, she wasn't eager to hand over power. Ruden was different from Hilta in her past life. The weather here was harsh, and food was scarce. There were only a little over 30 guards. It was a barren land that no one would covet. Ryan wanted to see her uncle's, the former lord's, office. Sarah told her that the former lord had managed the territory through a proxy. He had only been here 3 times while he was alive. Her words implied that she didn't want the new lord from outside interfering. Ryan wasn't going to obediently listen. That crown prince, whelp, was still alive. Only by developing the territory would she have a chance for revenge. "Please offer suggestions for my management in the future." Looking at the stubborn lord, Sarah said she would do her best to help Ryan. Ryan entrusted the child to Sarah and wanted her to give him a bath. Seeing a group of people try to take him to the bathhouse, he ran around the room excitedly. A group of people chased after him. He absolutely had to have this bath. Sarah had already learned about the child's origins from movers. His name was Cologne. He was said to be a child of the Cologne family, whose entire household was destroyed by the barbarian invasion. Ryan was shocked. He was the crown prince's mad dog from her past life, Bill Kalana. She braced herself and began the path of raising him. The crown prince's mad dog from her past life was right in front of her. Ryan decided to adopt him. Bill Kalana was actually the emperor's illegitimate son. Because the daughter of the Kalana family was pregnant with his child, the empress framed them for rebellion and had their entire household destroyed. The crown prince brought Bill back to become his invincible and loyal mad dog. With Bill's help, the crown prince became a beloved emperor. In her past life, Ryan had been confident of a successful rebellion thanks to the prosperous Hilta territory. It wasn't until Bill Kalana arrived that she realized she had no chance. But now Bill belonged to her. He would become the sword of her revenge. Ryan looked at the freshly bathed Bill and praised him. "You look so handsome," causing him to blush again. The maids could only stand by and watch, unable to help. "It's okay. He won't let anyone else touch him. I have to do it myself." Ryan looked at the child in front of her and made a difficult decision. Smiling, she asked him if he wanted to get some bread. After he left, Ryan covered her face and wept. "If Bill Kalana is on my side for revenge this time, it might actually be possible." Hearing a knock, she quickly wiped away her tears. He happily went to get the bread and even brought one back for Ryan. "Thank you, Bill." "No, from now on, your name is William." Ryan smiled and stroked his head. He would become her knight. How demanding could an adopted puppy be? Not only did she have to bathe and comb his hair herself, but she also had to personally teach him how to read and write. He was already 16 years old, but he was still the size of a child. Ryan tended to William while also handling the territory's affairs. Her territory was poor, and the winters were harsh. It had reached the point where if the Lord didn't distribute supplies, the people would starve. Looking at the list of supplies, salt, flour, dried beans, she felt troubled. Flour was too expensive. She planned to grind cornmeal as a substitute. But Lady Sarah reminded her that the territory didn't have enough people to grind the flour. There were fewer than 100 young men in all of Ruden. Thanksgiving was coming soon, and they didn't have money to buy turkeys. They would have to rely on the guards to hunt some. The soldiers' year-end bonus was just a bag of dried apples. Ryan felt guilty. She sighed, wondering when she could accomplish her revenge with a territory like this. She held William and checked his homework. The homework was about cornmeal, soldiers, and turkeys. I've reached the point where I need you to be my scribe. But you did a good job. She stroked his head, praising him, and then started worrying about how to find him a teacher. He sat obediently in her lap the entire time, his face red as a ripe tomato. A smart child makes things difficult for the parent. Within a few days, she had nothing left to teach him. Every day, besides patting his head and praising him, she worried about finding him a good teacher. William saw her distress and wanted to comfort her. He brushed aside her hair and kissed her. Before Ryan could react, he blushed and ran away. She covered her mouth, giggling. On Thanksgiving, something good finally happened. Someone she once cared for came to follow her. She was so moved that tears welled up in her eyes. She was incredibly grateful he came. Dietrich said, "Well, what else would I do, considering our relationship?" Those words completely shattered William's composure. This rival had arrived. Suddenly, after seeing her childhood friend, William's jealousy boiled over. Dietrich was one of his father's trusted knights, and also her first love. This time, he had come specifically to join her. Seeing Ryan, he suddenly turned dramatic, tears clinging to the corners of his eyes as he cried, "I searched everywhere for you, Your Highness, buried in the snow. I'm not a princess anymore. Before marriage, shouldn't you call me Miss? Since you have a title now, I should call you Viscountess. I was a little worried when I saw this barren territory, but it seems you're doing all right. Were you kicked out by your family, or did you leave home on your own?" Ryan didn't believe that he was only now checking on her, 3 or 4 months after she'd been deposed. The latter, of course. "I'm the one who abandons people. How could I be kicked out?" He was trying to save face. But Ryan knew very well that after he declared he would abandon his family, his haughty brothers kicked him out. She could already tell by his expression. Dietrich was silent for a moment. "The Crown Prince," he said, using his name directly, couldn't even walk steadily but was already eager to seize the Link family's territory and assets. I couldn't stand it. He was giving orders to the Link family knights. Ryan was happy. He was the first person to come and follow her. It's customary here to give Star Anise as a New Year's gift to vassals, but I don't have anything to give you right now. It's all right. After all, this place doesn't even look like it has 50 guards. You think too highly of us. There are only 30 guards. Damn, I'm going to be a street fighter here. Instead of a street fighter, how about a swordsmanship instructor? Ryan had a brilliant idea. William just happened to need a teacher. Teach that child from earlier? Would a sack of wheat be enough? It's perfect for Thanksgiving, plus tonight's feast. Ryan took his arm and led him to the dining room. She formally introduced him to William, who was eating. "Come say hello. This is your teacher, Dietrich." The two met, the air thick with tension. Men understand men, after all. She treated him like a child, but his intentions were not so innocent. She had brought a taller, more handsome man to dinner. Although the man greeted him politely, William still ran off angrily. He glared fiercely at the newcomer, like a small animal whose territory had been invaded. Ryan, thinking he was simply shy, gently urged him to eat. Children's hearts are truly difficult to understand. Perhaps I should bring him over. I don't want him brought here forcefully, because abused children are afraid. She took large bites of the food on her plate, hoping to attract the child. The knight stared at this display, dumbfounded. This was hardly how a lady should behave. She ate loudly, smacking her lips. She thought this would entice the picky eater, but William remained wary and refused to come closer. Anyone would think she'd raised children before. After his mockery, he decided to lend a hand. He helped by pouring soup on her plate. This completely backfired. William stomped off angrily, leaving the two clueless as to the reason, to look at each other in bewilderment. He's been hungry for 3 days. William remained locked in his room, refusing to come out. She heard him saying no from inside. Ryan didn't know how to handle a child of this age. How old is he? Upon hearing the answer, 16, the knight cursed. Did you just curse the Lord? How could I dare? The knight quickly apologized. I was just surprised. What a childish fellow. I was already fighting alongside the Marquis at 16. He's as small as a kitten. Do you think he's a child you can just hold in your arms? Ryan said no, but it was true that she had held him in her arms not long ago. Leave him to me, he declared. The knight plucked him out of bed like a chicken. Hiding like this, you don't deserve the name the Viscountess gave you. He tossed him back on a bed. You're 16. Ryan proposed to me when I was 18. Are you going to hide from Ryan like this when you're 18? Are you crazy? Telling a child that kind of thing. She awkwardly ruffled his hair. This got a reaction from William. He sat up in bed. A 16-year-old boy is a monster. Judging by your behavior, you're a scheming little thing. Seeing the competitive glint in his eyes, he knew he'd guessed correctly. This brat had ulterior motives towards Ryan. Then hurry up and get up. We have a lesson to start. The knight he had admired had followed him here. He was so jealous, he hid himself in the covers. But his little scheme was seen through and brought to light like a plucked chicken. He followed behind like a protective mother hen. What are you going to do to that child? Don't interfere in a conversation between men. Unless you want me to let go and return to Anster. Hearing the knight's words, he stopped. I'm sorry, William. He'll be a good teacher. She left a kiss on his face as she spoke. Be a good boy now. The knight pulled the blushing boy aside and leaned in for his own praise. You're already a wonderful person. Remember to treat William well. As you command, he solemnly promised. And so, what was intended to be a plea to abandon this perilous territory and empire resulted in him becoming the child's teacher. He left William in the training grounds and laid down 3 rules. First, I hate children who don't listen. The Viscountess might be affectionate towards you, but I won't be. Second, it was your honor to save the Viscountess. You must become someone worthy of that glory. He tossed him a wooden sword and began the lesson. Several weeks later, the knight had fully integrated into Ruden. Ryan saw William, his hair now short, looking much stronger. His teacher, Dietrich, had given him a new, choppy haircut. Ha ha! Ryan laughed as she tidied it up. William obediently blushed throughout. She treated the 16-year-old like a 6-year-old. He believed in spare the rod, spoil the child, beating him 3 times a day. Are you even human? Ryan felt sorry for William, but was also amazed by the results of his teaching. He had certainly improved the speech of a child who barely spoke. She complimented his cuteness as she cut his hair. One slip up, and it was even more uneven. Even Dietrich couldn't help but laugh. Are you planning to join the army, cutting it so short? No, he answered head down. After all those beatings, haven't you broken the habit of saying no? He raised his hand, but Ryan stopped him. Aren't you afraid of beating the child silly? Dietrich simply flicked his forehead. Seeing his forehead is much better. Dinner time arrived. Tonight's meal was boiled potatoes and cornmeal porridge. This was Ruden's finest cuisine. He shook his head at the food and grabbed William. If you want a kid to grow up strong like me, he needs meat. The only solution Ryan could think of was to give him her portion of meat. The other 2 were extremely unhappy about this. But you need to rest. It's so cold here. I'm taking him hunting. William is a child I've raised preciously. How can you do something so dangerous? This time, it was Ryan's turn to object, but her objection was overruled. William also refused to admit he was still young, and so the hunting trip was happily decided. Seeing William reluctant to brush his teeth after dinner, Dietrich threatened, if you don't brush your teeth, you'll be at the very front during tomorrow's hunt. Ryan added, I don't like men who don't brush their teeth. Watching him obediently brush his teeth, he knew he'd found the right approach. After he finished, he even checked to make sure they were clean. He treated him with the gentle warmth one would give a 6-year-old. That evening, Dietrich checked his weapons. William lay in Ryan's lap, listening to fairy tales. The fire crackled in the hearth, creating a warm and cozy scene. He told him stories and lulled him to sleep, all the while missing his father. When Dietrich was 6, Marquis Link had taken in a 4-year-old girl. That girl was Ryan. Although he was just the son of a retainer, he received the same treatment as the girl. The Marquis would hold them both and tell them stories, coaxing them to sleep. He later understood that the Marquis wanted childhood playmates. to become strong support for each other as adults. So, the Viscount reached out to the boy, using him to forget his father, Ryan thought. He had truly forgotten his father's death because of this handsome, lovable child. Even severing that bastard's leg hadn't had this effect. Thank you, Dietrich. His words brought him back to reality. He remembered his initial reason for taking in the child. But your judgment and luck are both good. The child you're holding is a black viper. He's broken at least 5 swords in the past week. He was pleased. He told him to get up and go to bed, promising that if he bravely participated in the hunt, he could call him Ryan upon their return, simply because it was easier to pronounce. It was easier for a child learning to speak. Blushing, William strengthened his resolve. He would achieve something on this hunt. The next day, they went hunting. A week later, they caught a huge reindeer. William personally severed its head. That winter, Ruden experienced 2 or 3 blizzards. A few residents perished, but otherwise, it was peaceful. 2 months passed in this way. Ryan began planning for the future of the territory. In 3 years, a massive fire would break out in the northeast, taking a year to extinguish. This event would be the catalyst for the downfall of Michelle's father. That fire nearly destroyed the northeast. The cause of the fire was the large amount of peat buried in the Leylon wetlands. If I could dig it out, I could make a fortune. The problem is, it's not my territory. It'll be difficult to get permission to cultivate it. Ryan, a handsome young man, called his name, interrupting his thoughts. Long time no see. William. After all this time, he had blossomed into a strikingly handsome young man. The Crown Prince could hold a grudge. Even the conscription order he issued was for the exact number of Ruden's guards. 30 guards plus 1 knight. That was all Ryan had. He had come to deliver a message from his master, but ended up being lectured. When speaking, move closer to the other person and look them in the eye. He replied vaguely, nodding. A blush crept up his cheeks. Ryan thought to himself, even after a whole season, he still can't speak properly. It must be because he hasn't had enough time to learn. He added, you can't call Dietrich by his name directly. He's your teacher. This made William jealous. He turned his head away awkwardly. Ryan could never quite grasp the nuances of men's interactions. Dietrich kept William by his side for training throughout the winter. Occasionally, when the weather was particularly cold, he would call William to his room to rest. After all, the Lord's room was the warmest place in Ruden. This, however, always earned him a scolding from Dietrich. You were the crown princess. How can you let a young boy rest in your room? He thought it over. He simply concluded that Dietrich must see William as a younger brother, which was why he was putting so much effort into teaching him. Looking at the tall boy before him, he had grown quickly and his face was handsome. He had become much stronger under his teacher's training. Unable to resist, he reached out and touched William's face. Although he had only seen him once in his past life, the scar at the end of his eyebrow was identical. He really was Bjorn. Ryan, William said, blushing, softly calling his name. I am sorry. Was that too familiar? He sheepishly withdrew his hand. What's wrong with being a little familiar? Ryan replied. He had said those same words to him before. Haha, yeah, what's wrong with it? After saying that, he went even further and patted William's bottom. William froze. He grabbed Ryan's hand and pulled him into a tight embrace. Now it was Ryan's turn to blush. Through his thin, formal clothes, he could clearly feel the heat radiating from William's body. He figured it was because he had just finished training. Still, he couldn't quite understand the sudden hug. He hugged William back. There's no one closer to me in this territory than you. Afterwards, the two of them went to find Dietrich. William supported Ryan as they walked, thoughtfully wrapping his scarf around him. The Crown Prince was truly vindictive. He was determined to seize Ruden's military power, leaving him with no way out. Every winter, the Empire sends a conscription order to each territory to prevent invasions from the barbarians in the northern mountains. The lords who receive the order either send troops or pay a sum of money. But Ruden has neither money nor men. In the past, they would conscript about 10 men. This year, it's 3 times that plus a knight. The territory still needs guards in case of wild animals in the spring. If all the village soldiers are gone, there will be no one to defend the territory. Ryan and Dietrich were both troubled. The Crown Prince was forcing him into a corner. It's precisely because they know Dietrich is here that they're demanding an additional knight from Ruden, right? He was so angry he gritted his teeth, unable to stop himself from cursing. Could we ask other territories territories for help? It was the only solution he could think of. Probably not. The other territories have been affected by us as well. Their conscription numbers have also increased. The Naden territory was asked by the royal family to provide 2 knights and half of their troops. One of them is the Lord's son. They must hate us. Michel, you damn dog. He cursed, feeling slightly better. But it's not like there are no other options. As long as Ruden lends a single knight to replace the Lord's son. But Ruden's only knight is... He turned his gaze to William. Ryan looked at William, a troubled expression on his face. Although he had grown taller, he was still a child. Viscount, I was on the battlefield with the Marquis when I was 16. The maid added from the side. That child can already defeat the captain of the guard. If Ruden has no guards, there will be an uprising. The only option is to appoint the child and swear fealty to Naden. Dietrich continued to try and persuade him. Although you truly love the child, however, for the sake of Ruden, you can't be held back by a mere child. Renting a knight isn't cheap, but William's worth is far more than a mere 15 soldiers. At least a piece of land will have to be given up, like the Rieland wetlands, for example. That place is rich in peat. William is Bjorn Kroner from my past life. Dietrich knelt and bowed. I understand, Viscount. He was quite pleased with Rhine's decision. He acknowledged him as a worthy heir to Rinka. Taking advantage of the conscription order, Dietrich wanted to get William away from his lord. Not long ago, during the deer hunt, William had stood there holding an axe, unsure of what to do. But upon hearing his teachers say that if he didn't cut off the deer's head, the Viscount would go hungry, his hand had become steady. It was the same during training. Whenever the Viscount was mentioned, his gaze would become resolute. He acts blindly, all for the Viscount. Thinking about this, Dietrich didn't want him to stay by the Viscount's side. Humans can't be like ducklings, following their mother their whole lives. This conscription order is a good opportunity for him to become independent. Rhine quickly put his thoughts into action. The Naden territory responded swiftly, signing over the management rights to the wetlands. The maid didn't understand. What use does he have for that useless territory? 2 days later, the soldiers were about to depart, but there was no budget for provisions. Rhine took out the necklace his mother had left him to solve the urgent problem. The crown prince confiscated all of the family's assets. This is the only inheritance left. Although the necklace is slightly flawed, selling it will make things easier for a while. Dietrich stared at him, not wanting him to pawn it. Rhine waved him away. What are you looking at? Hurry up and get ready to leave. Rhine collapsed into his chair, exhausted. Everything was ready, except explaining the situation to the person involved. Stop hiding and come in. William pushed open the door. He had been waiting outside for a long time. Rhine was still thinking about how to persuade him to serve as a knight for someone else. He wouldn't be angry. He just came in on his own. He fidgeted, hesitant to get any closer. He was worried about his strong body odor. Why aren't you coming closer? I haven't washed up yet. I smell of sweat. That's what you were worried about? It's fine. I'm already quite used to the smell of Knight's sweat. His father used to hesitate before hugging him too, and he thought it was because he was familiar with Dietrich's scent. So, you talking about Dietrich? Kind of. After all, his sweat smells twice as strong as my father's. He would pinch his nose in disgust whenever he got close to Rhine. He suddenly moved closer and hugged him from behind. He hated that Rhine was familiar with other people's scents, and he was filled with possessiveness. All right. He stroked his head, comforting him. So this is your scent. He was still worried that William was angry about being sent to Naden. Although he was Bjorn Kroner in his past life, right now, he was just a child clinging to him. The thought of sending a child into such a dangerous situation filled him with guilt. I am sorry, William. If you go, the conscription will be reduced by half. The residents of the territory will also be safe from wild animal attacks in the spring. Life will be much better. If you don't want to go, he couldn't bring himself to say the rest. As the lord of the territory, he had to think of his people. Can you try to see things from my perspective? For you, hearing those words, the innocent young man's heart pounded in his chest. I am the Lord. I must protect my people. I can't tell you not to go to war. All I can do is pray for you every day. He picked up a sword and handed it to him. For me, go to the battlefield. This is the sword my father left me. It's very precious to me. You must bring it back safely, because I don't just want to use it to wound the crown prince's leg, but even his life. I want to take it with this sword. He drew the sword, solemnly placed it in William's hand, and gripping his hand, asked, Can you do it? Yes, Rhine. I will definitely come back. But I read in books that knights receive a lady's handkerchief when they go off to war. All right, I'd do anything for you. With that, he tore off his sleeve and wrapped it around the hilt of the sword. Because he didn't have a handkerchief, he barely even had any clothes. William's happiness lasted 2 days. 2 days later, at the departure, he watched Rhine tie a strip of cloth from his sleeve onto Dietrich's sword hilt as well. He wasn't the special one anymore. Lending out such a skilled knight is difficult. There are always people trying to poach him. The war, which was supposed to end in half a month, dragged on for 2 years. Previously, wars always started in winter, and they would withdraw their troops in the summer to farm. This time, William directly killed the chieftain's son, bringing many spoils of war to Naden. This also enraged the barbarians, who abandoned their harvest and chose to continue the war. This was thanks to William, who, despite his young age, fought like a seasoned veteran. He cut down barbarians like cutting through tangled hemp. He even earned the nickname Mad Dog. Even the Margrave of Grentia wanted to pay him to join his ranks. But William said he would never change masters. He was constantly on the battlefield. Most of the news about him came from letters written by Dietrich. Apart from his tendency to act recklessly on the battlefield, he had become an excellent knight. However, as a soldier, he couldn't get along with others. My first disciple is like this. It's all because you spoil him too much. Rhine laughed when he saw Dietrich complaining in his letter. Isn't that your own fault? The last letter he sent early last spring said the war was almost over. 6 of the barbarian tribes, 7 deputy chieftains are down. The target is their chieftain. A final assault is imminent. It will be difficult to write letters after this. He mentioned that his brother and sister-in-law had a child. He wanted to take leave to see his nephew after the war ended. Rhine decided to give him 3 days of leave when he returned. He noticed another strip of cloth in the envelope. It was obviously tucked in by William. It contained a heartfelt confession. I look at the sword and think of you every day. Rhine was surprised, then lowered his head and began to cry. He missed him too. Life in the territory had been getting better since they left for the war. When they returned in 2 weeks, they would definitely have a grand celebration with apple wine. Although Mrs. Sarah didn't want to waste the wine she had bought for cooking, there was no need to be so frugal now. They not only had money to buy wine, but also money to buy Mrs. Sarah new clothes. Ruden had been revitalized by the funds from selling charcoal. Many residents from surrounding territories had come to seek refuge. The residents also came to love him as their lord. Everything was going smoothly. All that remained was for the war to end. But that very day, news arrived from the battlefield of the death of the person he held dearest. Of his childhood memories, only he remained. That morning, he had been smiling brightly, reading his letter. That evening, news of his death arrived. He had already died a week earlier. Rhine crouched on the ground, wailing, unable to believe it was true. The barbarians had attacked from both sides. Reinforcements couldn't reach the outpost where Dietrich was stationed. William, upon hearing the news, tried to provide support, but was held back by the chieftain. In the end, although he took the chieftain's head, by then, dawn had already broken. Dietrich's life had come to an end. I was looking at his letter, still smiling so happily. He was a friend who lay in the same bed with me, listening to father's stories. He felt guilty. If he hadn't traded William for 15 soldiers, if he hadn't traded lives, would Dietrich still be safe and sound? After the war ended, the soldiers returned home safely to reunite with their families. But Dietrich only returned in a coffin. The residents whispered as they watched William return. His aura was chilling. It was the baptism of 3 years of war that had transformed him into a true knight. Seeing Rhine come out to greet him, he happily reached out and called to him. Rhine's eyes were fixed only on the coffin, but the coffin was empty. They hadn't even found his body. He listened to the crowd murmuring. Rhine wiped away his tears and stood up. Now was not the time for him to be weak. He loudly announced his congratulations to the soldiers on their triumphant return. The war is over. I will distribute bonuses based on merit. In addition, I will grant 10 years of free land use rights. Finally, I have prepared a welcome feast for everyone. Please enjoy yourselves. The crowd was immersed in a sea of joy. However, this joy could not encompass William and Rhine. The person who wanted to recruit William had actually followed him to Ruden. He even offered William his daughter's hand in marriage. Since the war ended, Rhine had been incredibly busy. He had to deal with post-war affairs, prepare the funeral, and receive Dietrich's brother and Baden's visit. His brother went to see his resting place in the rain. Since he was a knight of Ruden in life, he should be buried here. He chose to follow you. This is simply the consequence of his choice. I can't accept this. I don't even have my brother's body. You couldn't even find a single relic. Ryan remained silent throughout, listening as tears mixed with rain streamed down his cheeks. Returning to his bedroom, he collapsed onto the bed, unable to move. Since the soldiers had returned, he hadn't yet gone to check on William. He fought for me in a foreign land for 2.5 years. I'll change clothes and go. As he was about to go see him, a knock sounded. Come in. He assumed it was Mrs. Sarah. I'm sorry, I don't have much strength in my hands. Could you help me change my clothes? The zipper in the back. I must have been in a hurry when I got dressed. It stuck. Footsteps gradually approached. Are you sure you want me to help you change? He heard William's voice and quickly pulled his clothes up, straightening his posture. The child from before had grown into a man. Or rather, a beast would be a more apt description. I didn't know it was you. Come sit here. As he offered his seat, William suddenly and slyly threw himself into Ryan's arms. It was then that Ryan realized how much he had grown. His body was also very strong. You were just a child before. I'm sorry, I'm truly sorry. He apologized, trembling. He'd heard that William had knelt before his teacher's coffin for 3 whole days. Experiencing the pain of loss for the first time, he had endured it so strongly. And Ryan felt ashamed for not having gone to see him. Just seeing Dietrich's coffin had felt like a knife through his heart. It's all right. Just saying welcome home to me is enough. He held Ryan tightly, gently stroking his hair. You don't know how much I missed you. His confession was heartfelt. During the long, dark nights on the battlefield, you were my only thought. Welcome home, William. I missed you very much, too, Ryan softly replied. His tears wouldn't stop. The next day, it was time to deal with Baden's visit. He offered 100,000 orancs for William outright. That amount wouldn't even be enough for a snack. He hadn't expected Baden to make such an outrageous offer. What I'm offering is enough to keep Ruden well fed and clothed for 10 years. Baden crossed his legs. He's still so young, yet he took down the barbarian chieftain's head. Do you think that's only worth 100,000? There are 2 ways to change a knight's allegiance. One is to buy them. The other is for the knight to swear an oath directly to a new master. You must have asked William yourself, and only after being rejected did you resort to this method. Baden Flotze, for this promising knight, he decided to offer 5 times as much. I won't sell. I won't even lend him to you. Even after Ruden's population grows, it will only have 42 soldiers. Such a capable knight, you're just going to let him be a small-time captain? That statement struck a nerve. He then offered another tempting condition. If Sir William comes with me, I'll give him an annual salary of 5,000 orancs. I can also give him my sister's hand in marriage. What did you say? Ryan's jaw dropped. Become their son-in-law? Wouldn't that hurt William? He turned to William to confirm. I'm not interested in any of that. Besides Lord Reinhard, I don't care about anyone else. Blushing like a bashful dog, he sought a reward from his master. As for what he wanted, he'd say later. Furious, Baden stomped off into the sunset with his guards, heading home. That clueless man, was he your commander on the battlefield? He must have had a hard time. Although, I hear he was quite popular on the battlefield. Really? You're lying. You're so handsome. Weren't you popular? And no, he blushed like a ripe apple. Ryan covered his mouth, smiling, not quite believing him. William, you did well. As always, he wasn't stingy with his praise. Your bangs have gotten so long. He played with William's hair, wanting to cut it himself again. William seized the opportunity, taking Ryan's hand and gently rubbing it against his cheek. I kept thinking about what you said while I was at war. You told me to make sure I came back alive. I listened to you, and I'm back. And I'll definitely come back alive in the future, too. So, you have to reward me. He blushed, asking for his reward. Reward you? What do you want? Ryan couldn't quite grasp his thoughts. I can't say right now. I'll tell you later. Saying this, he kissed Ryan's hand in a formal gesture. Ryan took that as agreement. The other 2 were still on the road, discussing what to do. Having failed their mission, they couldn't avoid a beating when they got home. While everyone else cheered that William had taken down the chieftain's head, the border marquis sighed. He had always used war as an excuse to recruit soldiers. In his eyes, the barbarians were nothing more than beggars who came asking for food in the winter. Giving them some food prevented conflict. Now, William had actually killed the chieftain when he had the ability to capture him alive. He hadn't captured a key hostage, simply because the chieftain had stolen his sword, and it was a sword precious to both Ryan and himself. He humiliated me so. Sparing his life would have been a disgrace. Leaving him alive would have been a grave insult. Baden remembered that William was a knight rented from Ruden. He hadn't expected William's loyalty to his master, the one exiled from the capital, to be so fanatical. What should we do now? Just go back with our tails between our legs? His guard asked. He considered showing William a portrait of his sister as another enticement, even though he knew it wouldn't work. Just as the two were at their wits' end, William rode up to them on horseback. Could he have changed his mind? Any soldier who dared insult Ryan became a ghost under his sword. This was the reason William wasn't popular in the barracks. After all, no one likes someone who attacked their own comrades. After the battle, the soldiers rested at the camp. He was polishing the sword Ryan had given him when he heard the soldiers gossiping. Their talk even turned vulgar. I heard the crown prince took a new wife. Celebrations went on for 3 days straight. It was incredibly lively, with flowers and bread everywhere. And here we are, toiling away for months. I heard the new crown princess is damn beautiful. Of course she's beautiful. The crown prince kicked out his original wife to marry her. William didn't care about the talk of women, but their words became increasingly crude. Well, it's a good change. That woman, when she heard the crown prince wanted a divorce, she stabbed him in the leg. You can imagine how agonizing their marriage must have been. The soldier inspecting weapons next to William broke out in a cold sweat. They're talking so loud. Don't they know William is loyal to the former crown princess? But I heard she's quite pretty. It's not like it's his first time anyway. Any man can have her. That means I have a chance to. One of them was still fantasizing when, in the next second, he was run through with a sword. What happened? They didn't even know what they had done wrong. Terrified, they scrambled back. What's going on? Sir William? What are you doing? A cold light shone in his eyes as he looked at them, not as if they were living beings. He wouldn't let anyone who dared speak ill of her get away with it. Run! The onlookers scattered like birds and beasts. Hey, you madman, what are you doing? These are our own soldiers. Do you know what you're doing? They blasphemed the royal family. I executed them. William had deliberately chased after Baden, and not to see him off. After their transaction, Baden was in no mood to buy William back. He hurried back to his territory with his guards. He didn't even bother to explain to them. Ryan was getting ready for bed when he found a piece of bread on his bed. He remembered how William used to bring him bread in his room when he was little. He had taught him how to fight, and he probably should have taught him how to interact with women too. Dietrich suddenly remembered he was gone. He murmured to himself, head down. Michelle, if he had delivered the bread and seen I was awake, he wouldn't have left. If what? Ryan interrupted him. Michelle, he's another person I've lost. If I could go back, I'd kill him with a single arrow. It would have saved me trouble. William kissed the back of Ryan's hand. Do you like land? Ryan hurriedly clutched his clothes, a blush creeping up his face. No one would dislike it. What's wrong? Then I'll give you land. He moved closer deliberately, smiling gently and mysteriously. I'll offer you anything you desire with both hands. Even land, if you wish. He hadn't realized the gravity of the situation yet. Not until a servant girl rushed in to report that many soldiers had arrived outside. Huh? What's going on? I brought them. Didn't you say you liked land? It turned out he hadn't chased after Baden that day to secretly seek higher employment behind Ryan's back. It was to negotiate a partnership. Young lord, now that the northern barbarians have proven themselves useless, what should your father do? What about the vast army assembled to deal with them? If Marquis Link were still alive, the royal family would certainly have arranged a marriage with him. They would use him against you. But now that Marquis Link is dead, his army has long since fallen apart. If the emperor were to directly order your father to disband his army now, that would be the best case scenario. If I were you, I would directly attack the empire. Hearing this, the guard immediately stepped in front of the young lord. How can you speak of rebellion so casually? Please don't harm the innocent citizens of the empire. Did Dietrich teach you this? He was so kind. He wouldn't think of such a thing. He would definitely advise you to propose a solution that satisfies the emperor. So, it's just you who wants to wage war on the territory. Yes, I will offer all the northeastern territories to the Lord of Ruden. That's ridiculous. Why should I lend you our soldiers? The guard nodded in agreement. The things they were discussing were treasonous. You're so cowardly. If the plan succeeds, you will gain a powerful ally. What are you hesitating for? The young lord admitted he was right. The land behind Ruden was very fertile. But unlike Marquis Link, who was once favored by the emperor, Reinhardt is resented by the emperor. If he becomes a Grand Lord and joins forces with the Grenzia family, they will be even more feared by the emperor. Don't worry, by then, that fear will disappear. They thought William's idea was absurd. After hearing his subsequent goal, he decided to return to Grenzia as soon as possible to discuss it with his father. Are you unhappy about the soldiers? Ryan was angry. We can't support this many people right now. This isn't land. It's people. He draped a cloak over Ryan's shoulders. He didn't want him to catch a cold. Ryan looked at his face. It seemed so unfamiliar. These eyes, which he had looked into so many times, had become terrifying. I know you can't trust me like you trusted Dietrich right now. But trust me, he sensed Ryan had misunderstood him. If Dietrich had brought all these soldiers, you would be happy. Ryan, I can't promise I'll never make you sad or angry. But Michel took Dietrich from us, so I hate him as much as you do now. He had always known William was using him as a pawn, and he accepted it willingly. Ron had always seen him as a naive child. Unknowingly, this child had grown up under his indulgence. And now he wanted to take back what belonged to him. I never asked you to take anything back from me. He shook his head and withdrew his hand. Even if I were to take it back, it's my responsibility to do so. But isn't that what you want to do through me? He had always known William's intentions. William, you misunderstand me. Haven't you always wanted to use me as a pawn? He smiled innocently. So everything I'm about to do is the reason you raised me. All I can do is clear all obstacles from your path. I hope you'll be satisfied with the path I've cleared for you. That summer, Ruden initiated a territorial war. As the war began, Ruden surrendered immediately. The nobles thought Ryan had gone mad. He had appointed a commoner knight, barely 20 years old, as the general. Ruden was also considered a coward who had chosen the wrong side. When the 6 territories surrounding Ruden were defeated, no one was laughing. As long as tax payments weren't affected, even if a territorial war occurred, the empire wouldn't interfere. This territorial war ended in winter, before the royal family had even taken it seriously. The initial 1,000-man army had doubled in size. Some prestigious territories began to panic, but it was too late. Ruden's knights were Ruden's mad dogs, eventually earning the nickname Ruden's Thunder. The territories that paid the most taxes to the empire were now all under Ruden's control. The emperor began summoning his ministers to devise a counter-strategy. The crown prince racked his brains and came up with a plan: withdraw the general and disband the army to restrain Ruden. The meeting room fell silent. Did he leave his brain at home? Everyone knows Ruden was the first to surrender. Most of Ruden's soldiers were provided by Ruden. Don't you know that? I know. But with a single word from the general, the soldiers will obediently return. The ministers didn't dare look at the crown prince, afraid his lack of intelligence might be contagious. The emperor's hand trembled with anger. My point is, they're all in cahoots. I understand. Have Ruden's general seize the army back from that woman. Drive a wedge between them. You don't understand, you fool. The emperor had a headache. His illness flared up. His face turned livid with rage. His only son was utterly useless. The crown prince glanced at his father, his expression indifferent. This wasn't something he needed to concern himself with. Looking at his politically inept son, the emperor thought, if only I'd let him participate in that riot, none of this would have happened. Ever since his leg injury, he'd become eccentric, only caring about himself. But the future of the empire rested on his shoulders. The emperor wanted to cry. Your Majesty, I've heard that the knights under Lord Ruden haven't been officially knighted. While impersonating a knight in battle usually goes unpunished, because they usually die before facing charges, it's still against the law. The emperor understood his meaning, but waited for him to say it outright. You should summon him to the capital and personally reprimand him. Seeing Rhine's territory expanding, the emperor grew restless and summoned his ministers for a late-night meeting. The next day, a letter was sent to Rhine, along with a crystal for using the crystal gate. They were summoned to the capital to pay their respects to the emperor. The emperor also promised to return his father's remains and restore the Link family's title, a difficult offer to refuse. Ever since Rhine had injured the crown prince's leg, the Link family's reputation, title, and property had been confiscated. The knight's order had also been returned to the royal family. Even his father's body had been hastily buried in a public cemetery outside the capital. He now had another chance to get close to Michel. This time, it was different from being expelled for the capital and walking to Ruden. The emperor requested they use the crystal gate. The crystal gate, made from magic-infused crystals, allowed for rapid travel between locations. It was said that magic had existed on this continent long ago, but over time, magic had gradually faded. The Empire's ancestors, the last magicians of the continent, had created the Crystal Gate. The Crystal Gate had brought prosperity to the continent and solidified the royal family's position. Unless of royal blood, one needed a resonating crystal to pass through. Weapons were forbidden through the Crystal Gate. Count Murray, who had delivered the message, stopped Rhine's attendance. They're my people. I assure you there won't be any problems. But the rules clearly state no weapons are allowed through the Crystal Gate. Count, I used the Crystal Gate when I was the Crown Princess. Even with it, you can't reach the palace directly. There will be 20 knights guarding the entrance. But my lord, he tried to argue. Although the Emperor ordered me to use the Crystal Gate, if the procedure is this cumbersome, we might as well ride. They're the ones in a hurry. Ryan wasn't worried if he continued to be stubborn. But William's sword is not permitted. Without special permission, swords are absolutely forbidden inside the capital. Even the Crown Prince must abide by this rule. Count, this is my deceased father's sword. If you knew why I'm going to the capital, you would never stop my knight from carrying this sword. If you say so, then I understand. He went to the city gate, fuming, to wait for them. You actually saved my equipment, William said with a grateful smile. He entrusted Lady Sarah with managing the territory in his absence. My lord, I've never disliked you. You've led Ruden's development every step of the way. All of us will support you. You can take as long as you need. Don't worry about rushing back. Please achieve your goals and return with glory. Ryan was deeply moved. He also had something to tell William before they left. Ryan decided to reveal his hidden secret to William before their departure, ensuring mutual trust between them. Ever since hearing his words in front of the city gates that day, she had felt he'd become a stranger. Leaning on his shoulder had once brought a sense of security, but now he was no longer the innocent child she cherished. Being seen through felt humiliating. The thought of his blind trust and her inability to repay, it was painful. Ruden had been victorious in every territorial battle. All she could do was sit in her room, endlessly combing her eyelashes. He was an invincible hero, offering all conquered territories to Ryan. All she needed him to do was play the role of lord and seek revenge. She had promised him a suitable reward upon his victorious return. But what could she possibly offer for such achievements? William, there's something I must tell you. Going to the capital is like walking into a lion's den. We agreed we must avenge Dietrich, right? I trust you, so I must tell you a secret I've never told anyone. He leaned close to his chest, unable to meet his eyes. You are of Eric's blood. You might not believe it, but it's true. You are the Emperor's son. I've hesitated because I can't tell you how I know, but it's your right to know. He lowered his head, awaiting a response, but none came for a long while. I wrapped this cloth around your sword hilt, didn't I? He shifted his attention to the sword. Don't touch it. It's covered in blood. It's dirty, but this is my memento. How could it be dirty? His heart pounded at William's closeness. His heart pounded. I'm sorry. I should have returned it. I was too greedy. It's all right. Thank you, William. I'm glad you treasure the gift I gave you. Though still afraid, she knew that even as he grew, the boy from that day would never truly disappear. And I'm sorry. I won't deny that I used you as a pawn, but I've entrusted my father's sword to you. No matter what you do, or who you become, even if you change your mind and leave me, as long as you hold this sword, I will trust you implicitly. He looked up at him, a smile returning to his eyes. I'll be waiting for you to come back. All right, I'll definitely return. You're mine in this life and the next. He silently finished the last part in his heart. He affectionately ruffled his hair, as usual. Ryan, since we're on this topic, I have something to tell you too. He blushed, leaning in close to his ear. Actually, I know I'm the Emperor's son. He said he knew he was the Emperor's son. What? Then you what? Ryan abruptly pushed him away. How did you know? When did you find out? He took her hand again, pulling her back into an embrace. I can't tell you yet. My lord, everyone's assembled. We must depart immediately. The guards witnessed the entire scene. We'll leave now. Let's get ready. Ryan took the opportunity to break free from the awkward embrace. It seems we won't have a chance to talk further. We'll talk later. He instructed the guards to prepare the horses for departure. It was only on the journey that Ryan understood what had puzzled her before. Why Dadan agreed to lend troops to Ruden. William must have made some kind of guarantee. He used his royal bloodline. This way, Ruden's actions were tied to the royal family. The royal family wouldn't strongly oppose it. Although the Empress believed Michel was the Emperor's only heir, the Emperor was unlikely to have any more sons at his age. Compared to the foolish Michel, he would welcome another potential crown prince. She avoided William's gaze throughout the journey. In the blink of an eye, they reached the crystal gate. Everyone's here. Let's depart. Only those holding a resonating crystal can pass through this gate. Please follow me. Taking advantage of a moment of privacy, he leaned close to Ryan's ear and whispered his request for a reward. I haven't told you what I want as a reward. A reward? Oh, excuse me. What did you say just now? She nervously clutched her clothes. It seemed the inevitable was upon her. You said you'd give me a reward if I returned alive. What? I can't give you anything. My lord, a guard reminded him. right? We'll go now. When she heard, "Give yourself to me," her mind went blank. "What are you saying? We need to go quickly. I only want you, Ryan. I love you. I only love you." He confessed right in front of the crystal gate. William treasured the girl he loved. The crown prince treated the person he loved like a servant. Whenever he was in a bad mood, he made his crown princess rub his calves. "Shall I light some incense for you? We have a new magnolia scent." "Forget it. It's too hot for incense." Dull hailed from a weak nation. Taken hostage at the age of 12, the last gift his parents gave him was a vial of poison. They told him to take it if he couldn't endure any longer. The Empire's hostages were confined together in the cold, desolate rear palace. Even the servants there looked down on him. He had endured that place for 10 years. He was certainly not one to fall in love easily. He gently rubbed the crown prince's calves. There was a scar left by Rhine, which ached from time to time. Every time his calves hurt, he made his wife, a princess of a nation, rub them for him. "Don't rub so hard. Be gentler." And yet, he still wore a look of disdain. "That woman will be here tonight. The woman you speak of is—" He stopped what he was doing. "Who else could it be? Have you found out anything?" "That damned, wretched girl. Reinhardt." "I'm sorry, your majesty." He trembled slightly in fear. After all, it was his request that led to the crown prince being injured. Then, he realized how different his cautiousness was from that girl's. He stroked his head, showing a rare moment of kindness. "It's not your fault. I'm in a bad mood because I was thinking about that woman. I hate that woman. I want to kill her." She didn't bother to hide her murderous rage. "I thought she would encounter bandits on her way to the territory. But not only did she survive, she got involved with someone of unknown origin. And she even became a Grand Lord. How shameless. She even dares to come to the Empire. I'll make her regret her decisions for the rest of her life. I'll personally send her to the guillotine." He ordered a servant to bring a jeweled necklace. He wanted the crown princess to wear it for the meeting ceremony. He wanted Rhine to see what obedient women received. This was the Lord's meeting ceremony. Technically, the crown princess didn't need to attend, but it didn't matter. The crown prince wanted to bring her along to knock that wretched girl down a peg. "You were born a princess, and you're so beautiful. After you steal her position as consort, that position will become so dazzling and majestic." He had to make her see, in the face of the crown prince's inexplicable competitiveness, he, who had lived his entire life in the shadows, could only answer yes and pretend to be happy about it. Although he was dressed radiantly for the ceremony, he still lowered his head in humility before Rhine. "You are my chosen wife. Don't show any weakness." The emperor glanced at him. He clicked his tongue, his displeasure evident. "Announce the Lord of Ruden and his knight to the crown prince." He waited to see Rhine, robbed of her position as consort, go mad. The moment he saw her, his face turned pale. A sense of inferiority arose in the hostage princess when she saw Rhine. Although she had stolen her crown and jewels, she hadn't expected to see her again after she had lost everything. She wasn't wearing any jewelry. Seeing her gaze, the thought of her coming back to take everything away from her, made her tremble with fear. That madwoman, the crown prince seethed. "Hey, didn't I tell you not to gnash your teeth?" "So sorry," he stammered, unable to form a complete apology. "Although ostensibly I summoned him here to celebrate his becoming a Grand Lord, and this is a very glorious occasion for him. He actually dared to attend wearing mourning clothes for his father." The emperor was scheming. He could barely contain his smile, trying to hide it with his hand. "To the supreme and wise ruler, long live his majesty, the emperor of the empire. The Lord of Ruden has come to pay his respects. Greetings, your majesty." Rhine bowed slightly. "Viscount Purdon Rise." He deliberately used a lower title, addressing him as Viscount. He tested Rhine's reaction to the slight. She showed no response. This old fox knew his main objective. It was to reclaim his father's marquisate, but he had no intention of returning it. He even wanted to take their lives. "This is William," he introduced. Although he has no surname, he served as a temporary knight in Viscount Purdon's territory and achieved distinguished war records. "Greetings, your majesty. Your name is William, is it? Rumor has it that recently. How old are you this year?" The emperor interrupted his minister upon seeing William's face. His grip tightened on the arms of his chair, betraying his inner turmoil. The minister, confused, fell silent. I'm 20 years old this year. Oh, so young and already so accomplished. The crown prince watched his father exchange pleasantries with a mere knight. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. How is it that you have no surname? The emperor continued, suspicion growing about William's identity. Rhine seized the initiative, answering directly. His mother was attacked by barbarians. After losing all her relatives, she gave birth to him with great difficulty and then passed away. Then there should still be a father. Where is the marriage certificate? This matter isn't suitable for discussion here. The slightest misstep could bring shame to a certain family. The two continued to speak in riddles, but those who understood. The crown prince was stunned. The emperor had practically acknowledged his identity. Marquis Link, powerful lords are rare in the empire these days. I hope we can quickly negotiate the return of your Link Marquisate. Come to my courtyard 1 hour after the ceremony, and we'll discuss this further. He was calm, everything under control. The emperor then announced a banquet in 2 days to celebrate Rhine becoming a Grand Lord, leaving the crown prince and the ministers completely bewildered. The promised return of the territory was merely bait. The plan was to execute William to control Rhine. They didn't know what he had done privately to make the emperor change his mind. He would certainly not let him leave alive. The crown prince watched them leave, his resolve hardening. Beside him, his wife felt a stirring of desire. William's smile had bewitched her. Rhine glanced at Michelle's cane. Seeing his leg still hadn't healed made him even happier. It would make him suffer even more later. He had secured the opportunity to have tea and a chat with the emperor. To gain the emperor's trust, he had to reveal that William was his son. On his way back to rest, he encountered the knight from that family. I apologize for disturbing you. You should have something for me, shouldn't you? The knight's purpose in coming was to obtain the crystal proving William's lineage. It was the price for leasing the soldiers. However, the crystal needed to be shown to the emperor first. With so many people around, it wasn't the right place to discuss this. He needed to subtly tell him that the time wasn't right. The amaryllis will bloom in the appropriate season. That one sentence sent the knight into deep thought. Wasn't amaryllis the name of the first emperor? And it was a phrase inscribed on the royal shield. This flower will bloom in the appropriate season. So, he meant he would use the amaryllis emblem to prove everything. As understanding dawned, he still found the noble's roundabout way of speaking annoying. Sylvanus, they should have prepared a place for you to rest. He was attentive to his condition, noticing his discomfort. He immediately stepped forward to assist him and led him to rest. You've learned quite a bit. Seems going to war was educational. Watching their flirtatious exchange, the knight just wanted to grab the crystal and run. It seems the rumors about the Lord of Ruden and a young knight are true. He sat on the bed, examining the remaining crystal. This was the disposable crystal given to him after passing through the crystal gate. It hadn't shattered. That was enough to prove his lineage. This crystal would earn the emperor's trust. Sylvanus, can I accompany you to the afternoon tea party? Someone there might pose a threat to you. Even though Ruden's territory has expanded, the situation remains unstable. If you, my lord, were to die, the grand territory would collapse. The emperor might already be plotting against us. We must prepare in advance. Did Dietrich teach you all this? No, I learned it on the battlefield. However, it's unlikely the emperor will make a move. He seemed quite pleased with me. But, William, would you want to be the emperor's son? It would be quite amusing if he became a prince. It would drive Michelle insane. Well, that's a difficult question. I'm not sure. It's up to you. He lay down on Sylvanus's lap, trying to evade the question. Why are you joking around? I'm not joking. I just want you to kiss my forehead. This reminded him of William's confession. He wasn't sure how to react. Just go stand by the door. He pushed William's head away. I want to rest for a while. He lay in bed, unable to decipher William's thoughts. Your Majesty, please come in and have a seat. The emperor was eager to see his son. I want to marry you, but you treat me like a son. He thought he was acting mature enough, but in Sylvanus's eyes, he was still a child. Marquis Link. The two of them went to have tea with the emperor. The emperor addressed him formally as Marquis. On the surface, it seemed he wouldn't take their lives. And this is William, I presume. The emperor's gaze fell upon his son. I hear Marquis Link calls you the thunder of his territory. Have a seat. He panicked slightly. In their haste, he'd forgotten to teach William royal etiquette. William politely excused himself. The haircut was a minor detail. He'd known about it all along. He wanted to show off a little in front of Rhine. The emperor got straight to the point. Due to certain past events, we've grown distant. But that's all in the past. I plan to restore all the rights of the Link family. Your territory and assets Everything except what has already been allocated to Michelle will be returned, including your father's remains. But before that, I need to see the birth certificate of the knight by your side." He rose to retrieve the birth certificate. William thoughtfully pulled out a chair for him. The emperor remained cautious, his knights on high alert. He couldn't relax around the woman who had dared to stab the crown prince. "Your Majesty, it's been years. You still look to be in excellent health. That's wonderful." He tried his best to appear harmless. He presented a forged marriage certificate. He kept the crystal that proved William's identity hidden in his hand. It was a secret, yet genuine transaction, unknown to anyone else. "Good. I sincerely welcome you back to the capital." Through this transaction, he could regain the emperor's trust. That evening, he threw himself onto the bed. It had been a long and busy day. "You said you'd appoint me as a knight at the banquet. We need to prepare suitable attire for the occasion." He was curious. William spent all his time on the battlefield, yet seemed to know everything, even about preparing clothes for a banquet and proper etiquette with the emperor. He couldn't contain his curiosity and wanted to ask. He dismissed the servants, intending to speak with William privately. "Is this really all right?" William asked, approaching cheerfully. "Being alone in a room with a man in the middle of the night. People will gossip. I have nothing to hide. I'm used to being gossiped about anyway." William was taken aback. This wasn't the reaction he'd expected. "Besides, people already assume we have a special relationship," Sylvanus continued, smiling. "Did everyone know he liked Sylvanus? Did they think they were a couple? It doesn't matter what others say, as long as I'm open and honest. I've kept you by my side since you couldn't even speak. I've never thought of you as a man, but as a temperamental son." William was thunderstruck. "I'm pursuing you, and you see me as a son?" The maid, closing the door, quipped playfully, "Hey, Ruden's thunder is just a child in front of the Lord." He had wanted to ask where William had learned such things, but was suddenly pushed onto the bed. "Have you ever seen a child this big?" Sylvanus's serious expression, while William struggled to suppress his laughter, made him incredibly embarrassed. "I know when I was your age, being called Little Apple Pie by my father was also embarrassing. I'm sorry for teasing you in front of the maid. There's only an 8-year difference between us. I'm serious. There's something more important. How did you know about your lineage?" He covered Sylvanus's mouth. "So you admit you're a child now, Ryan? You know, parents who constantly pry into their children's affairs are the worst." With that, he stormed out. He regretted telling him directly. Meanwhile, Sylvanus assumed William liked him because he only knew one woman. But William was his only card to play. He couldn't let him be bound by such things. Perhaps one day he would understand. Love was like a tornado, coming and going quickly. When that time came, William would understand his thinking. The crown princess, after encountering a strange man at night, started to convince herself, could he possibly like me? She saw again the man who had smiled at her. Even being married couldn't stop her heart from fluttering and her face from flushing. The maid stepped in front of her mistress. "What are you looking at?" "This is the crown princess, your highness. Mind your manners." William knelt on one knee. "Greetings, your highness." He knew the proper etiquette, of course. "I am William of Ruden. This is where her highness takes her evening strolls. Leave at once." "But this is also my quarters. Where else should I go?" The maid thought his response was incredibly impudent for a knight. The crown princess stopped her maid, smoothing things over. "This gentleman is visiting the welcome palace for the first time. It's understandable that he wouldn't know." She snuck a glance at the handsome man before her. His gaze was cold and resolute. Such an arrogant man, kneeling before her. She shivered involuntarily. Her body reacted strangely. "You, her highness, is being so gracious, and you don't even offer a word of thanks." The maid, acting even more haughty than the crown princess, drew her sword threateningly. The crown princess had to placate her own maid. "This area is close to where I used to live, so I often stroll here. I forgot we had an esteemed guest arriving today. I apologize," explaining so much to a strange knight. William couldn't tell if she was being deliberately kind or truly humble to the core. "So that your highness's guest can rest peacefully, I'll take my leave. However, my only pleasure is strolling here late at night. So, could you keep this courtyard clear for me at this time in the future?" he asked with a sincere expression. The thought of him making such a request for her made her heart flutter again. William slowly curled his lips into a smile. He was well aware of her little crush. The time and place are set. "I understand." He left with his maid. His objective for the night was accomplished. William picked up the handkerchief the crown princess had dropped, watching her blush deepen. He held tight to this excuse for their next conversation. 2 days later, at the banquet, the maid prepared the knight's attire as requested. But Sylvanus didn't intend to change out of the school uniform he wore for his father. Could you call for that adjutant who came alone? Greetings, Your Highness. He rushed overexcitedly, thinking he could finally return with the crystal he'd been yearning for. But Sylvanus had another request. This person is extremely capable. My vast territory needs such talent. I recognized his abilities back in the capital. If you have time, bring him to me. If this person can assist me in managing the territory, Ruden will quickly stabilize. He deliberately said this for the knight to hear. It was to make the Grand Duke of Nyden believe he was capable. That way, even without William, Ruden would be stable. The knight was an honest man. He admitted to being from Nyden and that he would report everything he saw. Sylvanus sat on the bed, thinking about how he hadn't seen William in 2 days. He decided not to disturb him, to give him time to sort out his feelings. If William changed his mind and left, Sylvanus needed to be prepared to handle everything on his own, because this was his revenge. At this moment, he had no one he could trust. It made him think of Dietrich. He wished he could talk to him. William, outside the door, took it all in, including the name Dietrich, which he heard clearly. Everything William saw and heard reinforced his belief that Sylvanus was fond of Dietrich. He remembered Sylvanus happily entering on Dietrich's arm. He had boasted about receiving Dietrich's confession at 18. Dietrich had even kissed the back of his hand. On the day of his triumph, Sylvanus had looked past William to see Dietrich. Everything proved that Dietrich held a higher place in Sylvanus's heart than he did. William clenched his fists, his face darkening ominously. Despite his resentment, he composed himself and entered the room. "Why are you here? I haven't seen you in 2 days." He immediately questioned, what was that about with the adjutant just now? Meeting him alone, without any guards. He lowered his head, masking his jealousy. "Is it something I shouldn't know?" Sylvanus didn't want to explain. "Are you my master?" "I'm sorry." William looked frightened. It was the first time Sylvanus had spoken to him this way. "If you tell me you now consider yourself the prince, I will address you as Your Highness." "No, it's not that." He lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong. "But you also know, Your Highness, you are not my husband. The moment I address you as Your Highness, you will no longer be able to stay by my side, as family or in any other capacity. Why are you doing this to me? You know, I wasn't saying that so you'd call me prince." He was only concerned for his safety. To keep tabs on the Grand Duke, you need to be at least a prince. Don't you agree? Ever since Sylvanus had concealed his identity, William's trust in him had been shaken. "I'm sorry," he apologized repeatedly. "Forget it. What's that you have?" He snatched the box from William's hand. "These are the jewels I had prepared for you for the banquet." William thought he could change the subject. Sylvanus simply placed the box on the table, not wanting to break it with his next actions. "Let's talk. We have a banquet to attend tonight, and you've been avoiding me because I rejected your confession. I need you. William, I've endured long years alone for this revenge. But you had Dietrich and me. No, I truly have been alone. Don't you believe me?" He was referring to his unknown past life. "No, that's not it. I believe everything you say. Sylvanus, but I don't trust you. You say you love me, yet you hide your secrets. You schemed and plotted just to win my heart. Do you call that love?" William felt a pang of unease. Sylvanus was disrupting his plans. He had intended to wait until Michel ascended the throne. "It's you who seeks revenge. You've never cared about me." He felt increasingly wronged. "No matter how hard I try, there's no place for me by your side. I'm just a pawn. What can I do?" "William, what you feel for me isn't love. You just see me as a toy you've never had. Shall we be honest with each other?" He began his final test. He grabbed William's collar and pushed him to the ground. "It wouldn't be difficult for me to accept your innocent affection. You're my only weapon. If you want to possess me, you can do it now. But will be nothing more than physical. What's your choice?" The knight Sylvanus had raised since childhood, had known all along that he was the crown prince. To ensure his revenge went smoothly, he was outright seducing William to see his true feelings. "Do you want my body? Or do you want to stay by my side like before?" He leaned closer to William's face. "After your long-awaited revenge is over, will you be able to love me then?" William stopped his wandering hands and helped Sylvanus up. "I choose to push you away now, only to prove my trust in you. Sylvanus, I love you." He confessed earnestly once more. "I'll do anything to have you completely, even if it means pushing you away right now." Faced with William's sincerity, Sylvanus felt the flutter of his childhood crush reawaken. It was a completely different feeling for being with Michel. He gently caressed William's lips and kissed his forehead. In the imperial palace, the crown princess was once again on her knees, wiping her husband's legs. His mother rushed in, her eyes filled with concern for her son. "Ma Michelle, I heard you retired today, so I came right away. What's going on? Why do you look so pale, my darling? Is it because that wretched girl is in the capital that you're upset?" He gently pushed the crown princess away, unable to tear his gaze from her. "Weren't you preparing for the banquet? Why are you here? Your happiness is most important to me, mother. How could I stand idly by? But don't worry, you're the only one in the entire empire who can become emperor. Even if that wretched girl becomes a grand duke, you are the one who will become emperor. I know you want to chop off her head right now, but just be patient. Soon, you'll have them all dancing in the palm of your hand." After comforting her precious son, the empress only then glanced at the crown princess, silently kneeling and cleaning up the broken glass. In her eyes, the crown princess was useless. The banquet officially began. Those who had spoken ill of Sylvanus behind his back now greeted him with smiles and enthusiasm. The emperor formally began William's knighting ceremony. Looking at William kneeling, the empress felt a sense of déjà vu. It wasn't until the emperor declared, "The dazzling imperial sword is bestowed upon William," that the empress suddenly realized, Cronin, the minor border noble she had destroyed. He was still alive? The emperor, troubled by his incompetent son, felt heaven had sent him a capable bastard son. He joyfully bestowed upon his bastard the title of Sir William Cronin. The empress, however, was so enraged that her migraine flared up. The crown prince, oblivious, remained clueless. "What's going on? Mother!" He was furious and resentful. "How could His Majesty do this to me? Michelle, my poor son, if only you knew what your father is doing now." Cronin is the name of a woman who served His Majesty for a long time. This revelation struck him like a bolt of lightning. Hearing this, the crown princess's fondness for William grew. This handsome man who had captured her attention was the emperor's bastard son. The emperor summoned Sylvanus to the terrace for a secret meeting. "Who gave my son the name William?" "His mother," Sylvanus replied boldly. Since the emperor didn't know the truth, he could answer however he pleased. He would say whatever maximized his advantage. The emperor fell into deep thought. The name sounded like something he would choose. In his old age, having only Michelle as his foolish heir was a bitter pill to swallow. Now, miraculously, another son had appeared. His throne finally had a worthy successor. It was a joyous occasion. "Sylvanus, although you were adopted by your father, I know you shared a deep bond. Time hasn't eased your resentment over his death. Was merely injuring Michelle's leg enough? Is that enough to satisfy your vengeance?" Sylvanus was shocked. These were the words of a father, willingly offering up his own son's life. "Your Majesty, please entrust your son Michelle's life to me." He stated his demand. The emperor had gone this far. Refusing would be impolite. Michelle's life was his goal for the second phase of his plan. He was determined to succeed. The emperor was pleased with his answer. "Everyone seems to forget that I have two sons. The mother of one of them killed the woman I love. My other son, the son of my true love, is this empire. For the empire, I would do anything. Although I don't like you, you have given me a prince. That is enough. Whatever you want, I will give you, whether it's his life or making him your puppet. So even though I know you're using me, I'm willing. But in return, you must become the prince's consort." The emperor finally stated his condition. The emperor was the most cunning fox of all. He was curious why William was so devoted to Ruden. His final condition was also a test to confirm the rumors of Sylvanus and William's affair. William's expression revealed everything. What he truly desired was Sylvanus. Sylvanus returned to sit by the water, aware that the emperor had seen through his weakness. Becoming the prince's consort meant Ruden's territory would ultimately belong to the royal family. The prince's consort, not the crown prince's. The emperor hadn't yet named William as crown prince, which made him uneasy. "Call William and tell him to send Sir Arsene in." William pretended not to hear from outside. Only when Sylvanus emerged did he reluctantly reply that Arsene hadn't returned. "And you intend to meet another man dressed like that? You're going to be my wife someday." Sylvanus was about to meet Sir Arsene in his nightclothes. William, of course, disapproved. "You're going to be my wife someday. How can you meet another man dressed like this? Only you would see me this way. Both of them shyly averted their gazes. It would be strange if someone didn't see you this way. This is the bathroom. You're soaking wet. He grabbed William's collar and dragged him into the bathroom. A man barely 20, speaking like he's in his 30s. And now you're pulling me into the bathroom. Shut up. Wash your feet and go back. William began washing his feet, carefully massaging them. Sylvanus's heart raced. Don't worry. I won't do anything without your permission. But a man's words are often deceitful. He had barely finished speaking before he kissed Sylvanus's knee. You just broke your promise. Even worship requires the god's permission. He always had a justification. He didn't want to argue further. Choosing to get straight to the point, Sylvanus asked, William, what do you think of the Emperor's proposal? He had been deliberately evasive. He thinks you're better than Michelle. That's why he kept beating around the bush. William appeared indifferent. It doesn't matter what he says. I'll make you my wife. That old fox is just trying to probe the relationship between you, me, and Grincia. I see. He still seemed unconcerned. Sylvanus was getting anxious. That's a very simple answer. You don't understand that old man yet. You're right, I don't. Then teach me. William picked him up and settled him on the bed. Rest for now. The maids will come to tidy the room later. Sylvanus closed his eyes uneasily, unsure if William would truly accept the Emperor's proposal. Leaving Sylvanus's room, William finally dropped his pretense of calm. His anger was palpable. How dare he use Sylvanus as a bargaining chip with me? When he genuinely smiled, a faint dimple appeared on his left cheek. He had only ever smiled like that at Dietrich. William only wished Sylvanus would smile at him with such genuine warmth. He wanted Sylvanus completely, and he wouldn't allow anyone to manipulate him. He rubbed the hilt of his sword. It's a shame I can't just kill him like I used to. He's still trying to manipulate Sylvanus. He ran into the crown prince, who was looking for him. Limping, sword in hand, he yelled, "Bastard!" The servants and the crown princess couldn't restrain him. Get out of my way, you stupid wench. Why are you stopping me? He shoved his wife to the ground and even drew his sword on her. Are you in league with those bastards? If you stop me again, I won't be so lenient. I'm sorry, your highness. The crown princess could only apologize and keep quiet. William masked his emotions and helped the crown princess to her feet. Do you know who he is? How dare you touch him? I'm the only one allowed to touch this woman. The crown prince's outburst frightened his wife, causing her to cling tighter to William's arm. I just saw her fall. I'm sorry. I'm just a country bumpkin from the Northeast District. I don't understand these things. William's attitude further enraged the crown prince. He must know I'm a prince. That's why he's so brazen. He decided to execute him with his sword. William simply grabbed his wrist, rendering him powerless. He could only yell, "I'll kill you, you cur." William wasn't having it. He chopped him unconscious with a swift strike. Whose man is this? He doesn't back down from anyone. The drunk crown prince threw a tantrum in front of William, brandishing his sword only to be knocked out cold with a single blow. The maids rushed forward in a panic, terrified the crown prince would lash out at them when he awoke. Please forgive my rudeness. I only knocked him unconscious to prevent an incident. The crown princess wasn't paying any attention to her husband. She just stared at William, blushing. He's drunk. If he asks about it when he wakes up, please tell him it was a dream. The crown prince's behavior was a bit extreme, but his life was threatened. I believe you didn't do it intentionally. Blushing and flustered, she lowered her head, her eyes betraying her admiration. William saw it all. Thank you for your concern. His politeness only deepened the crown princess's infatuation. Her eyes were fixated. We should get back to the palace quickly. She hurried away with the unconscious crown prince. William watched Michelle's retreating figure, cursing him in his mind. He's so crude. He has no sense of basic decency. He had been Sylvanus's husband. Rage filled William's heart. I'll crush that bastard to pieces. The crown princess stopped halfway. She looked back at him longingly. For the first time, she smiled genuinely. As expected, just like the last time, some things haven't changed. The next day, Sylvanus met with Hayes, the financial manager that Elson had recommended. You're Baronyet's second son, correct? I hear you're a junior manager at the Treasury. I also hear they don't appreciate you there. As the second son, you won't inherit the title. You must have heard that Ruden is now a large territory. Yes, congratulations. Hayes was a little nervous, unsure why he had been summoned. I intend to entrust you with the financial management of the territory. Someone I trust recommended you, Sylvanus said frankly. Hayes was so surprised he practically jumped out of his skin. Who recommended me? I'll tell you if you agree to be my financial manager. This unexpected opportunity made him hesitate. Last year, you covered for your superior and handled the the tax evasion recovery in the East, didn't you? I've seen the ledgers. You're very diligent. Sylvanus had heard Hayes complain about this in his previous life. Despite his hard work, he received no reward. His superior, fearing his position was threatened, even accused him of stirring up trouble. He already had many grievances against the treasury. Now, with this better opportunity, he could barely contain his joy. After the unification of Oriander, I saw your name on the tax collection documents. You did a good job, and I'll give you what you want most. Do you know what I want? Do you think I'm the kind of woman who hires someone without knowing their background? You just need to work for 5 years, and I won't stop you from going anywhere after that. Don't you already have your future planned out? Hayes was startled, feeling completely seen through. Thrilled to have found someone who recognized his worth, he grasped Sylvanus's hand. Thank you. I'll look forward to working with you. Sylvanus had finally secured the Empire's most talented financial manager. Coming to the Empire was certainly proving worthwhile. Meanwhile, 2 other individuals were having a clandestine meeting. The Crown Princess hadn't been able to eat since returning from the garden. Fortunately, the Crown Prince didn't remember what had happened last night. He just assumed he'd dreamt he'd gone to the Welcome Palace while drunk. In his dream, that low-born commoner had cursed at him. The Crown Princess was somewhat impressed by his ability to twist the truth. He was the one who had been shouting. She had skipped 2 meals in a row. This led the maids to gossip. I heard the Crown Princess didn't eat this morning or last night either. Could she be experiencing morning sickness? Impossible. They sleep together every night, and she still hasn't conceived. Could there be something wrong with His Highness? She was used to the maid's loose tongues. However, having skipped 2 meals, she was feeling lightheaded. William appeared just then, tripping her. She fell against him, giving him an opportunity to get close. Looking up, she was surprised to see him there. However, given their location, they quickly separated. This is the Crown Prince's palace. You shouldn't be here without permission. I know. I was just taking a chance, hoping to see you. And I did. Who could resist such a line? He pulled out the handkerchief she had deliberately dropped in the garden. Thank you. She blushed, wondering if this meant they were mutually interested. William lifted her skirt to check her ankle. She jumped back like a startled rabbit. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten you. You seem to have fallen because of me. It seems your ankle is all right, but let me help you to the pavilion to rest. He extended his hand in invitation. The Crown Princess wanted to spend more time with him. I'd like to continue my walk, but you seemed unsteady before you fell. Should I call a maid? No, having you by my side is enough. She took his arm. As long as she had someone to talk to, a minor injury like this could be easily ignored. People will gossip. It's all right. People gossip about me all the time. Sylvanus had said those same words once. When he had said it, William had only felt anger. But hearing the Crown Princess say it now, it only disgusted him, remembering his past life. He could have yelled at William. It's all your fault. Everyone gossips about me. The contrast between then and now was stark. His expression darkened. I want to walk with you now. He was completely oblivious to William's true feelings. His face was full of bliss. I heard your parents passed away when you were young. How did you grow up? The Crown Princess wanted to know more about him, but all William could think about was the way he had manipulated him. You're filthy. You're worthless. That's why you have to obey me. By the way, do you have any plans for tomorrow? He didn't actually care about William's childhood. He was more interested in seeing him again. We're planning to move the former Marquis's remains to their final resting place. In his past life, he hadn't allowed William to attend important events. You think you're worthy of attending such an occasion? Don't overestimate yourself. This time, he didn't specify the location, afraid William might actually show up. He loved Sylvanus deeply, the man who wanted to tear someone to shreds, but couldn't bring himself to do it. Sharp yet clumsy, to William, Sylvanus was his savior, and this woman beside him had taken everything away from Sylvanus. To protect Sylvanus from being tainted by something so dirty, a low-born, will do it for you. William had effortlessly seduced the Crown Prince's wife. While seducing her, he didn't want to touch her. The Crown Princess was ready to kiss him, but he hesitated. I am sorry. He pushed her away and turned to leave. This is the Crown Prince's garden. You should be able to get back on your own. The Crown Princess chased after him, confused by his sudden departure. Then she saw the glove he had left behind. She assumed he was just shy. The glove left behind after a near kiss, was a promise for their next meeting. She clutched the glove tightly. Sylvanus and William returned to Ruden early. Soon after, the Emperor returned Marquis Link's remains as promised. However, Link's territory and mansion, which had been given to the Crown Prince as compensation, could not be returned. The Emperor simply sent the coffin to Ruden through the Crystal Gate. You must be disappointed you couldn't bring the Marquis back yourself. There are still things I need to do here. The lords of the territories surrounding Ruden, fearing further expansion, sent gifts and flattered him to show their goodwill. Becoming a Grand Lord at such an astonishing pace is unprecedented. We've struck gold, haven't we, my excellent knights? William, still resentful, spoke sarcastically. This is what knights who serve their people should do. Although, you don't seem very willing to accept the jewels they offer. He was still bothered by Sylvanus casually tossing aside the jewels he'd given him at the palace. After the guests left, he started to appease William. Are you sulking because I tossed aside the jewels you gave me last time? How dare I sulk at you? He avoided Sylvanus's gaze. He was clearly sulking, but refused to admit it. Sylvanus thought he was still like a child. He had only done it to reject William's feelings. He felt sorry for treating him that way, but he had done it intentionally. If William's feelings changed someday, he would gladly accept any jewelry he gave him. A week later, the Emperor summoned them both again in secret. He presented his son with the Amaryllis shield exclusive to the royal family, but William barely glanced at it. He simply tucked it away as if it were an ordinary object. They followed the Emperor. Sylvanus's gaze was drawn to the portrait of the first Emperor, Amaryllis. The portrait had been donated to the royal family by one of his lovers. The first emperor had been a busy and free-spirited man, with no time to sit for portraits. He was so busy he even joked with his ministers that he had lived 9 lives already. Sylvanus was skeptical. How could such a busy emperor have time to write the Bitter Cold Lands manuscript? He also noticed the ring on the first emperor's finger. He felt like he had seen it somewhere before, but William called him to follow, interrupting his train of thought. The emperor told his son with a smile that eradicating the barbarians was his ancestors' long-cherished wish. It is a great joy to see it fulfilled in my generation. William, however, was disgusted by the way the emperor touched him and took credit for his accomplishments. Besides that long-cherished wish of our ancestors, there's also the dragon of the Puran Mountains. The first emperor had always wanted to cross the Puran Mountains to confirm whether the dragons were truly extinct. He had even joked that he would conquer the Puran Mountains before his 10th life ended. William wasn't interested in the topic. He only wanted to know where the current royal family's portraits were. But only Michelle's portrait hung on the wall. Sylvanus's portrait had been taken down. The current crown princess hadn't yet received the royal family's official recognition. The painters would be busy later. After all, there was another portrait they needed to complete soon. The emperor revealed that he was planning to commission a portrait of William as a gesture of goodwill. Sylvanus whispered to William, "Shouldn't you thank His Majesty?" But William didn't thank him. He only wanted to know where Sylvanus's portrait had been taken. The child Sylvanus had taken and had loved him since he was young. Just when he got over his first love, a shadow of that first love appeared. He had specifically asked someone to find this person for him. He was out for a walk when he happened to run into him leaving his job. "You've already submitted your resignation?" "Ah, yes." The finance department acted like it was a big deal. They approved it, but kept asking me why I was leaving. I didn't mention Sylvanus, though. I'm curious. Why didn't you just tell them you were going to Lord on? It's not like it's something to gossip about. He looked troubled. It was so sudden. I was still a little worried. What's there to worry about? If it comes to it, just say you're my lover. My lord, you're such a joker. William suddenly remembered the story Dietrich had told him. Love isn't just about getting what you want. Love is much more complicated than you think. You'll understand when you're older. He glared at him. Brown hair, green eyes, just like Dietrich. And Sylvanus was saying things like that to him. He watched them chatting happily, leaving him to stew in his jealousy. "Ah, I forgot to introduce you too. Hayes, this is William Crony. You've heard of him, right? This is Hayes Yedaluden, the newly hired finance manager." William didn't know when Sylvanus had found such a finance manager. Sylvanus revealed that he had asked a loafer for help and that he could go see him now. The idol Arsene had been pestering Sylvanus daily for proof of William's gentlemanly conduct so he could report back. But when Sylvanus visited him with the Amaryllis shield, he was no longer in a hurry to return, because he had received a letter from Grencia. Grencia would also be coming to the capital in a few days to attend the public church. He wanted to see the Amaryllis shield with his own eyes. He had already sided with William. He could rally the imperial lords who disliked Michelle to assist William in the fight for the throne. Sylvanus told William about the emperor's scheme, but he just leisurely peeled grapes. The emperor was only using William as a fuse to incite the loyalists to start a war. Whether William or Michelle lived or died, as long as one heir survived, that was enough for him. Seeing William's indifference, Sylvanus didn't understand. Doesn't this matter to you? Of course it does. I'm actually grateful to him. What do you mean? Sylvanus started to ask, but was fed a grape, thus achieving an indirect kiss. What are you doing? William continued his previous topic. This is an opportunity for me, a chance to rightfully, in front of everyone, cut off that guy's head and present it to you. I'm sorry, William, but the one who puts a blade to Michelle's throat must be me. This had been Sylvanus's long-cherished wish for years. He couldn't let anyone else do it. The only thing you can do is kiss the back of my foot. William immediately grasped the key point. If you wish, I can do that right now. Sylvanus, blushing, gave him the boot. As William left, he thought back to what Dietrich had said. You'll understand love when you're older. He felt that now. He understood it more deeply than Dietrich ever did. The exiled former crown princess had transformed into a grand lord. Returning, she not only reclaimed the Link family's title, but also transported her father's body back to Ruden for burial. But unexpectedly, someone stole the body. Mrs. Sarah said that when the carriage arrived in Ruden, the landing sound wasn't right, so she opened it to check. It was empty. Sylvanus became so distraught, he grew dizzy and developed a high fever. I checked before entering the Crystal Gate. It must have been stolen afterward. He immediately ordered Marco to go back and search along the road. Just then, William delivered a letter left at the door by the thief. The thief requested Sylvanus come alone at midnight to the place where the Duke was previously buried to retrieve the body and to bring one night. The meaning was clear. He wanted William to come along. At that quiet, dark place, even if someone attacked, no one would know. William put his cloak around Sylvanus, afraid he would catch another cold. This intimate gesture was witnessed by the thief who had come for the meeting. Just as the rumors say, you two are quite close. William immediately drew his sword and shielded Sylvanus. He recognized the stutter. He knew this voice. He was the son of Elise's father's cousin. After Sylvanus stabbed the crown prince and was imprisoned, he embezzled funds and ran away. Now, hearing that the family title had been restored, he had come back. I never thought it would be why you little. I have something to say to you and miss. Sylvanus didn't want to waste his breath on this person. He was only here to get his father's body back. Was it the Empress who instructed you? He seemed surprised by Sylvanus's intelligence. What are you talking about? What does this have to do with the Empress? I just want to personally return my father. Your father? What's this about? Yes, my father. When you became crown princess and left the family, I was the one who truly inherited the Link family. You? Sylvanus didn't believe him. Would his father let this kind of person inherit his legacy? His body trembled with excitement. Why, you were just an adopted daughter. I have more right to inherit the Link family than you. So even if you kill me, people won't suspect the Empress. Instead, they'll think it's an internal power struggle within the Grand Lord's family. The Empress's intentions were clear to him. This incompetent man was just a pawn. Kill you. I never said such a thing. I doubt the Empress told you to spare me, either. Don't pretend to understand. The Empress, Her Majesty, only ordered me to bring you to this place. She never said anything about killing you. Sylvanus saw the man behind him raise a knife, but it was too late to stop him. Just as he claimed to have stolen the body himself and declared that he should be the Lord, he was decapitated. The assassin behind him kicked the worthless bait aside. It was clearly time for a fight. William immediately scooped up Sylvanus and ran. These men were clearly planted by the Empress. From the beginning, the Empress never intended to give him the Link family. Her plan all along was to eradicate the Link family completely. William placed Sylvanus in a corner and drew his sword, preparing to face them alone. He reassured Sylvanus, "It's all right." Sylvanus had gone to the graveyard with William to find the body snatcher, only to be ambushed by the Empress's assassins. To protect him, William placed him in a relatively safe spot before facing the enemy alone. It was the first time Sylvanus had seen him fight. This was Ruden's lightning. An assassin tried to take advantage of the situation and attack from behind. He might have grazed William once, but he wouldn't get a second chance. Sylvanus, struck in the neck, collapsed into William's arms. Smelling the blood on the person in his arms, William trembled uncontrollably. "Sylvanus, are you all right? How dare they?" They had crossed William's line this time. "William, I'm fine. Are you all right?" Hearing him say he was okay, Sylvanus was relieved. "Can you help me to where the horses are? I can't walk." Held like this for the first time, William was at a loss. The patrolling soldiers finally arrived. "What happened here? Is Marquis Link all right?" Sylvanus, shielded in William's arms, was sweating from the pain. He remembered Bill Cologne from his past life. Their first meeting was after Bill had annihilated the barbarian tribes in the southern Grand Territory. On his way back to the Imperial City, he had temporarily stayed at Sylvanus's territory. "Please prepare food and a place to rest for my soldiers." Sylvanus, however, thought that Michelle had sent him after learning about his war preparations. Back then, he was much bigger and stronger than he was now, with a dull and serious personality. Because he was Michelle's man, Sylvanus instinctively treated him with hostility. While talking, he hadn't controlled his emotions, revealing his resentment towards Michelle. "Has your loyalty been rewarded? Why has the Emperor kept you on the border for 10 years? A tool is only useful in the right situation, isn't it? Do you really think so? Then how do you view me, the former crown princess? A tool? Was I used in the right place? People aren't tools. That bastard, Michelle, doesn't understand anything." Sylvanus was always indignant when mentioning Michelle. William's attendant, hearing the crown prince spoken of in such a way, was the first to object, but Bill stopped him. "It's almost time to finish the meal. It seems the Lord has drunk too much." Sylvanus, still clutching the wine bottle after dinner, squatted down, feeling wronged. "That crown doesn't necessarily belong to Michelle. If I were him, I wouldn't be so passive, knowing full well he's being used. If it were me, I would tear Michelle to shreds." Sylvanus suddenly woke up. The maid by his bedside was in tears. "How did you get such a serious injury?" The doctor William brought back said, "You mustn't make any drastic expressions. It's not good for the wound to heal." "Where's William?" Sylvanus was more worried about him. The maid hesitated, then stammered out William's whereabouts. Sylvanus was currently lying in bed, recovering from having his throat slashed, but his loyal knight wasn't by his side. He asked the weeping maid, and learned that he had gone to interrogate the captured assassin. Sylvanus felt a pang of guilt. It was his fault for raising a good child so badly. He now understood what Dietrich had said before. "Viscount, you must use people like chess pieces." He had intended to keep William by his side as a pawn, giving him affection, but he hadn't been consistent. He had cherished William, and he had coldly used him. When William truly desired his love, he had pushed him away, using the excuse that he was grown up. He curled up in bed, crying and reflecting. Even a flower, if watered erratically, would wither, let alone a person. Since I ruined him, I should take responsibility. He immediately ordered the maid to fetch William. Covered in blood, William paused at the door, hesitant. Unable to disobey Sylvanus, he entered the room. "I heard you called for me." Because he was covered in blood, he refused to sit on Sylvanus's bed. "If you won't come here, I'll have to go there." Sylvanus stumbled towards him. A worried William caught him and helped him back to bed. He couldn't do anything with the stubborn Sylvanus. "I'm sorry. I failed to protect you." He had almost died right in front of him. William was also filled with guilt. "It's all right. I didn't call you here to hear that." He didn't know what could be more important than this. "William, if you had grown up in my arms, what would you be like now?" "I would probably be gentle, kind, and obedient. In winter, we would huddle under the blankets together, eating roasted grains and reminiscing. In spring, we would go out for picnics. In summer, we would play in the lake. If I had raised you like that, what do you think you would be like? Do you regret raising me the way you did?" He nodded honestly. The thought had suddenly occurred to him. "But I won't do that again. I won't regret anything anymore. So you must never regret either." William's eyes widened in surprise at Sylvanus's sudden kiss. Sylvanus knew William's world was small enough to only contain himself. Since William had never changed, and all he ever wanted was Sylvanus's love, Sylvanus also had to remain unwavering. "Sylvanus, from now on, no matter what I do, I hope you can forgive." Sylvanus hushed him, patting the bed and beckoning him closer. William felt his heart pounding like a dozen deer. Facing William, who was willing to give everything for him, Sylvanus initiated a kiss and received an enthusiastic response. But worried about Sylvanus's injured body, he restrained himself. "You're already injured. How can I continue to force you?" Sylvanus couldn't help but laugh at his words. To retrieve the former Marquis's body, William came up with a plan to perform the Chevalier Perrier ritual on Michelle. This was a method by which a knight could voluntarily change their liege lord, and a knight could not violate 3 oaths. to always follow their lord, obey any command unconditionally, and never lay a hand on their lord. Breaking these oaths would certainly lead to condemnation. In that case, Michelle wouldn't be able to ascend to the throne. William planned to swear allegiance to Michelle in front of the public at the church. In exchange, the queen would surely be willing to return the former marquis's remains. Sylvanus sat up excitedly. Then you can't be my knight anymore. And you can't touch Michelle either. William pushed him back onto the bed and confessed his love. Sylvanus, I love you. I've loved you for a long time. Even when you sent me to the battlefield, my heart wouldn't change. Even if you cast me into hell, don't change the subject. William, I promise you, I will bring you Michelle's head. So please love me. At first, he had used William as a tool for revenge, then used him to bargain with other territories. Gradually, trust and compassion had built up. Now, he was the sin of happiness that Sylvanus had sown and reaped. They kissed deeply. I love you. I'm in love with you, Sylvanus responded. Both of them had unfillable voids within them. William's obsession with him and his guilt towards William. A bloody red thread passed through their wounds, binding them tightly together. That night, William responded to the crown princess's request to meet. The crown princess dismissed her maids to return a glove, but William pulled her into his arms. Are you really here to return the glove? Simply returning a glove wouldn't require choosing a quiet courtyard in the dead of night and wearing such magnificent jewels. The crown princess, her intentions exposed, leaned against his chest. She gave him a light push, but couldn't bring herself to refuse. Please kiss me. He finally gave in to his desires. Meanwhile, Sylvanus was still lying in bed recovering from the assassination attempt, while his knight was on a tryst with the crown princess in the garden. From then on, every corner of the palace became their secret meeting place. The crown princess heard from the servants that the person who attempted to assassinate Marquis Rhine was being brutally tortured in the warehouse. The scene was so gruesome that the servants responsible for cleaning the warehouse were left nauseated and retching. For days, she looked at this straightforward man and couldn't imagine him doing such cruel things. Will you attend the prayer meeting tomorrow as well? If my master goes, I will too. The crown princess quietly snuggled into his arms. William suddenly sat up. How can someone as noble as the crown princess lie beside a common rogue like me? What? We're lovers. William sighed. Are we really lovers? Isn't it common for noble women to seek pleasure with knights? And you're already married to the crown prince. How can you be sincere with a bastard like me? Seeing such a proud man acting so self-deprecating before her, the crown princess broke out in a cold sweat. Please don't think that way. I'm sincere. But William knew that what he truly desired was to see Orangs bow before him. It's just that you happen to come across the emperor's bastard son. Besides, I'm just a lowly knight, someone you can easily cast aside when you're tired of playing. That's why you approach me so easily. The crown princess, her thoughts laid bare, reached out to comfort him by holding his arm. But he, remembering his past life, pushed her away. I didn't mean to. It's all right. Please remember, the person I truly love isn't the crown prince, but you. However, I did think about making you bow before me. But what I meant was I want you to always stay by my side and tell me you love. William interrupted her. You want to see me kneel before you and kiss your feet, don't you? The crown princess was startled. How did he know that? I did think about that. William pushed her away again. No matter what, you won't give up that man. Thinking he might be talking about Michelle, she defended herself again. I'm a crown princess. You know my position, so please don't say such things. I have my country to protect, and you have your own master. He had also heard about William desperately saving that man from the assassins. Perhaps their relationship was truly extraordinary, and it was. Thinking of this, he felt a little disappointed. I have the crown prince, yet I still chose you. But seems you haven't chosen me. It's always me clinging to you, asking for your kisses. What right do I have to choose? I'm a knight. Of course, I can't refuse your requests. Dulcinea, have you ever imagined holding my hand in the sunlight, taking vows before the gods? The crown princess, addressed by her name, didn't seem to understand his meaning. Please don't beat around the bush. Although our love can't be realized in this life, I hope we can know and love each other in the next. Dulcinea, do you know? This is my second life. And in my previous life, I was also your captive. Of course, she wouldn't believe in reincarnation. Even if you make up stories to coax me, it's useless. To be honest, I envy Marquis Rhine, who has you now. Didn't you steal something from him once? She thought William was referring to her position as crown princess. I didn't steal it because I wanted it. The only thing I want is you. Is that so? If you want something, you should take it. That night, the crown princess didn't understand his meaning. The next day, at the public church service, she heard that William was going to request a pairy oath with the crown prince. Only then did she understand William's meaning hidden within the oath. He was telling her to fulfill their long-ago promise. After William announced his intention to swear the oath to the crown prince, the prince couldn't stop grinning. The empress also waited for William to submit. The crown princess followed behind them, listening to their scheming. The empire's finest knight was about to become their dog. However, there was a clause in the oath. If the master died unexpectedly, the knight must take responsibility for his family. In other words, if the wife were left alone in the world, the knight must marry the master's wife. William's words, "If you want something, you should take it," kept echoing in her ears. Ryan looked at the Jungming scar on his neck, hesitating whether to sponsor the event. After much deliberation, he decided to take William to the prayer meeting. "I'm so tired. I feel like I didn't sleep well last night, but you still look so beautiful." Ryan stared at the large scar. Couldn't he see it? "Are you making fun of me? A mere scar doesn't diminish your beauty at all. By the way, you're about to take your oath soon." The empress insisted on waiting for William's oath before returning the body. However, Ryan was worried that the empress wouldn't keep her word. "If the empress goes back on her promise, I'll lose such an excellent night." Hearing the praise, William stopped. "See, can you say that again?" Ryan leaned closer, touching his forehead. "My beloved." William snapped back to reality, realizing how close they were. Overwhelmed by the confession, William embraced her, not caring if anyone saw them. "Just a moment, just for a moment." He buried his face in Ryan's shoulder. "Just a hug. I'm so happy." Ryan hugged him back. All right, remember to tell me." On the way, Ryan ran into the young head of the Shao family, the Grinchia border counts. The two smiled, shook hands, and exchanged pleasantries. To the onlookers, the two seemed quite close. The rumor of an alliance between their families solidified in their minds. In reality, the young head of the Shao family was pressing Ryan about when he would return the army he borrowed a few years ago. Ryan intended to deny the debt, reasoning that the person who borrowed it had passed away. Surely the descendants shouldn't have to bear that burden. However, how did the Grand Lord Ryan get that scar on his neck? William intercepted. He led Ryan into the prayer hall. The young head of the Shao family could only complain inwardly. "Every time I see him, he seems so terrifying. What's the use of winning every battle if the woman he cherishes is injured like this?" The empress had arranged Ryan's seat at the front, right next to her. This was convenient for surveillance and also allowed the other nobles to clearly see his neck. "Do you need to change seats?" William, constantly observing Ryan's movements, noticed his displeasure. "No, I won't be ashamed of this scar. Even with such a serious injury, I will live well and show them. Although it does look a bit frightening." At that moment, a noble came over to greet Ryan. He was reborn with the desire to avenge his father. But he encountered the crown prince's mad dog from his previous life. He decided to take him as a pawn and renamed him William. As a result, William became his. Ryan had intended to have a casual meal with his future finance minister, but he scared him off. Hayes, standing outside the door, hesitated whether to tell the Lord about William's secret meeting with the crown princess. Thinking of William's terrifying face, he decided it was best to protect his own life. "Anyway, I was drunk at the time and didn't see everything clearly." The most important thing was that he could finally leave the capital. He took out the letter from his pocket, his face slightly flushed. The letter reminded him to bring a bouquet of flowers when he met the Lord. After all, the men of the Hayes family were always disliked for not understanding women's hearts. Ryan prepared to comb his hair before meeting the High Priest William. William volunteered to take over the maid's duties. Then he gave him a massage. "Where did you learn this?" "I heard that noble women have attendants who massage them. If you need such an attendant, be sure to choose me." Ryan thought he was just joking. He didn't have the time to arrange for such an attendant. William caught him off guard and kissed him on the lips. "Don't let your guard down in front of a man who adores you." "Look who's talking about letting my guard down, you pesky brat." Ryan blushed and turned away. "I just gave you a massage. What's wrong with that?" Ready to go, the two set off on horseback. "Were you deliberately preventing me from having dinner with Hayes just now?" "I only spoke with the high priest about the donation. It didn't take long at all." William, caught in the act, wasn't flustered. He immediately admitted, "I won't do it again. I really don't know why you've been so moody lately. Whenever I'm a little intimate with other men, you get upset. Now you're even acting as my attendant in place of a maid." William tightly embraced Ryan. Lowering his head, he asked, "Am I that cute?" "I'm not joking with you," Ryan replied seriously. William immediately apologized. "You've been so gentle with me recently. I've just become greedier. If you don't like it, I won't do it again. I will always listen to you." His breath fell on Ryan's neck, causing a blush to spread. Ryan shyly responded, "I don't dislike it." This made William's heart bloom with joy. "Actually, the day you were injured, I wanted to torture the person who hurt you to death first, and then commit suicide to atone. When you woke up and called me to your side, I was in agony. But ever since you were injured, you've been so gentle with me. You could have hated me for not protecting you, but you didn't abandon me. As your tool, why should I commit suicide? I'm sorry, Ryan. Every time I see this painful scar, I know how much you cherish me." William, behind him, confessed his feelings once more. Although Ryan felt that love was fleeting, destined to disappear one day, he still accepted it. Even if his love was like a dark shadow that could consume a person. He was reborn wanting to avenge his father, but was assassinated by the Empress. Even the knight he had raised since childhood was given to his enemy. Even then, the Empress wasn't satisfied. After the prayer meeting, she couldn't contain her anger. Regarding Ryan's scar, during the prayer meeting, no one dared to approach him. The Empress was pleased with this, but the Emperor's kindness towards his illegitimate son made her furious. Moreover, the matter of the illegitimate son had spread. Everyone was anticipating his actions. She absolutely couldn't let him become emperor. The crown prince and princess were initially just watching the drama unfold. But when the empress saw the crown princess fiddling with incense, she lashed out, catching innocent bystanders in the crossfire. "That damned incense again. Your head is getting more and more muddled. It's all from smelling too much incense. And what exactly were you doing just now?" The crown princess was bewildered, unsure why she had become a target. "Did you just extend the back of your hand? Were you that bored?" Large beads of sweat rolled down the crown princess's face. Could it be the Empress had seen her interaction with William? Her thoughts raced. No matter how she answered, the Empress would press further. If she were caught having an affair, she would die 1,000 deaths. So, should she remain silent? Or should she kowtow and beg for forgiveness? Thinking of William's kiss and his determined gaze, she spoke with a firmer tone. "As a member of the royal family, if I were to be overly harsh to others out of resentment, I worried it would damage the royal family's image. That's why I acted that way. I'm sorry. I was being indiscreet." "You know you're being indiscreet?" The Empress's fan snapped against her hand. "Have you considered that because of this small matter, my reputation was almost damaged? You're actually considering that little wretch? How laughable. Speaking of which, aren't you the culprit who drove that wretch away? If you truly cared about the royal family's reputation, you wouldn't have become the crown princess. Isn't it also because of you that Michelle's legs are like this? You're nothing more than a crown princess who spreads her legs and serves Michelle. Stop it." Even her own son couldn't bear to listen to the Empress's words any longer. "This is just getting worse and worse. I'm already not feeling well. Mother, why are you here provoking me? Anyway, on the last day of the public church service, that bastard will pledge his allegiance to me in front of everyone. To me. When I ascend the throne, I will execute that bitch. Before that, I will arrange for more guards to protect my safety. You don't have to worry anymore." Hearing her son say this, the Empress's anger vanished. Embracing her son, she comforted him. "Everything will be as you say, my beloved son. I've always been grateful to you, mother, and to the crown princess. You're meeting with the priest this afternoon, right? You must be tired. Go back and rest." He dismissed the crown princess and began whispering to his mother. The crown princess obediently withdrew. She rushed out, silently telling herself, "It's okay. It doesn't matter." Seeing William under the tree, her tears finally overflowed. She knew in her heart that she had initially seduced Michelle only because he was the crown prince. What's wrong? From now on, don't let others think you belong to another woman in public. Because you're mine. Are you really going to swear allegiance to the crown prince? Hearing the affirmative answer, he became even more certain. Since he had already stolen something from Ryan, the second time would be much easier. I definitely won't let you get entangled with other women again. Being robbed of her husband twice by the same woman. Who could tolerate that? In the previous life, Sylvia had stolen the crown prince from Rhine, causing him to be exiled 3,000 miles away. In this life, he had returned with his adoptive father to seek revenge. Now, the current crown princess wanted to steal his man a second time, and he was completely unaware of it. Rhine continued to participate in the public church service with William. The third day of the public church service was the day to pray to the goddess of vengeance. Because Halsey hated men, only female followers could enter to pray. William could only wait outside. He watched as Joshanna accompanied Rhine inside. "Your Excellency, are the rumors I've heard true?" "What rumors?" Rhine didn't know what rumors he was referring to. "You're still pretending to be unaware?" "I heard that Your Excellency was not only granted the title of Grand Lord, but also found love." Rhine blushed and quickly went to participate in the prayer. Joshanna chased after him, teasing, "Ooh, I heard it's a young and valiant knight, and I just saw him. He's really handsome. If you keep talking nonsense, don't follow me." Rhine's words denied it, but Joshanna saw this cute side of him for the first time. Seeing him get along so well with the knight made her happy. "I'm not sure if I get along well with him or not. I've always treated him like a younger brother, even like my own child that I raised. I'm not a good master." Joshanna felt he wasn't being honest at this moment. "But he's a gallant knight, always by your side." "Gallant? Not really. I just think he's a bit cute." Joshanna sighed. "If you think a man is handsome, you still have a chance to escape. But if you think a grown man is cute, you're already deeply smitten." She took Rhine's hand. "Congratulations, Your Excellency. Don't forget to send me an invitation when you get married. I remember every time Your Excellency came before, you would pester the high priest, listening to his flattery for an hour. As compensation, you also had to donate a huge sum to the temple. I wonder if the priests serving Halsey will be punished by the goddess for doing this. The goddess of vengeance, Halsey, has a reindeer by her side. The apple at its feet is the true symbol of revenge, because true revenge is sweeter and more tempting than anything else." Rhine prayed devoutly, hoping his revenge would be successful. Rhine looked at the painting on the wall. He thought of the four gods, symbolizing the four seasons in imperial mythology. Although people believe they were all Halsey's children, the god of winter was picked up along the way. He was the child of the man who betrayed Halsey. Halsey felt pity for him being abandoned and took him in a raise. Erudica, jealous of this, transformed into winter and tricked Halsey into having the god of summer with him. This made him think of William. He missed him after only a short time apart. After saying goodbye under the contract, William threw another little tantrum, remaining silent and ignoring Rhine. Because Etmaid knew about Rhine's past, she felt jealous. But Rhine was best at persuading him. "It's precisely because I have a past you don't know about that I met you. Although I married Michelle, I was betrayed. Joshanna hired mercenaries to protect me, but they almost killed me. At that time, when I needed help the most, who appeared before me? Who protected me?" William listened, his face involuntarily flushing. "William, from now on, I'm the Rhine you know. Even so, are you still jealous of Joshanna?" William leaned forward, overwhelmed with emotion, and wanted to ask Rhine, "Can I kiss you?" But Rhine pulled him in for a kiss. It was also the first time he saw William looking so eager. "Have your wounds completely healed?" He was a little worried about pulling on Rhine's injuries. "If the only true thing your boyfriend said was, 'I love you,' would you still like him?" Rhine relived his life with the determination to avenge his father, but fell in love with the wife he had raised since childhood. "Have your wounds healed?" Before kissing and cuddling, he would ask considerately, afraid of hurting his lord even slightly. And Rhine, in the late stages of her straight woman cancer, didn't seem to understand what he meant. "Rhine, I really like you." Sweet nothings spilled from his lips, intoxicating. "I'm willing to do anything for you, even lie or do dirty things." At this moment, the woman, caught in the throes of love, felt dizzy. She didn't want him to. The words against his true feelings remained unspoken. But Rhine, with her incredibly strong self-control, pulled him back from the brink. The last day of the public church, all the nobles would attend the banquet. The emperor had already summoned William. It seemed he would announce him as his son today. Perner found Rhine alone on the balcony, enjoying the breeze. "If I had known he was a prince, I would have married my sister to him," he chatted idly. "By the way, Your Excellency knows that William made a bloodline deal with us, right?" "A bloodline deal is meant for marriage. But William said there was someone in his heart. I couldn't exactly force him to marry my sister. Ryan quickly turned his back, not letting him see his flushed face. Anyone with eyes could see who the person in William's heart was. But Perner hadn't come here to wish them well. I'm the son of a Grincia general. I still have some ability to judge character. The first time I saw him, I also thought he was a hot-headed young man blinded by love. But that's not the case. Although his words were carefully laid out, Ryan had a 90% feeling that he was here to sow discord. Dietrich and I are very good friends. If he wanted to offer the Grand Territory to you, would he use this method? If he wanted to borrow troops from me, wouldn't he have consulted with you beforehand? He wouldn't let you shoulder a mountain of debt like this. Ryan's heart pounded. The Dietrich in his heart was also this kind of considerate person. Your Excellency, you must be more careful. A subordinate who hides secret from his lord is not a good subordinate, he warned finally. The auditorium was bustling with noise. The emperor entered with the elegantly dressed William. He ordered the servants to bring refreshments. He would prove William's parentage in front of everyone. The emperor raised William's hand. I officially announce that from today onwards, William will be cleared of all his past sins and return to my side. Ryan looked at William before him, also wary. Could someone who kept secrets from their lover be a good man? His lover had so many hidden secrets. Could he tolerate this? The weapon he had raised himself ran off to pledge allegiance to someone else. Could he not feel resentment? Even outsiders were advising him to be more cautious. Although Ryan told himself that he was just an untamed beast, his shy and nervous expression couldn't be fake. What he needed to do was embrace him, influence him, and prevent his personality from becoming any more twisted. But Ryan's heart still told him he was afraid. On stage, the emperor announced to everyone that William was a member of the royal family. Finally, a prince appeared who could stand on his own. He was overjoyed. This son seemed very steady, much more reliable than the useless Michel. Finally, he could stop worrying about the succession. But Michel just wouldn't let him have his way. He popped up again. Your Majesty, I now request that my half-brother swear the oath of chivalry to me. You won't object, will you? The joy in the emperor's heart withered instantly. He had just announced William as a prince, and now William had to swear an oath to Michel. This was a blatant slap in his own face. He pointed at William and cursed. Are you planning to give up your rights just like that? I agree to your request. Having said that, William instructed the priest to begin preparations. He looked at the emperor coldly, completely ignoring his fury. The surrounding people were equally confused. Had he just regained his identity only to pledge loyalty to the crown prince? It seemed the succession to the throne wouldn't change. Ryan clenched his fists nervously below the stage, his heart filled with unease. Watching the knight who had once sworn allegiance to him swear allegiance to someone else again. He believed that William now was merely a blade he had thrown, one that would grievously wound his enemy in his stead. William was only helping him take revenge and would return. That night, Ryan lay on his father's coffin, finally feeling a sense of relief. The Empress had returned his father's body as promised. The Emperor had given William a severe scolding before releasing him. Did the Emperor say anything to you? He said if I wanted the body back, I could ask for his help. I shouldn't have sworn an oath to Michel for something like this. William, I've been thinking about going back to Ruden recently. You're Michel's knight now, so you can't always be by my side. Seeing Ryan's intention to return home, William became anxious, not wanting to be left behind. Just give me a month. But you need to learn how to manage the new territory and attend the prince's lessons. A month is enough. These things seem trivial to him. Oh, my William is so smart. It seems I can go back without worry. Suddenly praised, William became a little shy. If you're really tired, you can go back first. Despite his words, his hands were dishonest, holding Ryan tightly and refusing to let go. Oh, I'm just kidding. Even if I wanted to leave, I couldn't. Our new prince needs support. How can I leave you here to deal with those sly old foxes? At a time like this, do you still think I'm a child? But aren't you acting like a child, using every trick in the book to coax me into staying? William turned his head awkwardly, continuing to be stubborn. I said if you're too tired, you can go back first. Then I really will go. Ryan laughed heartily, and William quickly steadied him to prevent him from falling. Ryan nestled in William's arms and asked again, You'll love me until you cut off Michel's head, right? Everyone he had ever loved had left. William would stay, wouldn't he? To avenge his father, Ryan offered William as a blade to the crown prince. But this sword had its own ideas, landing first at the crown princess's feet. will you love me until you cut off Michelle's head? Ryan was still a little worried. The shelf life of their love seemed too short to outlast his revenge. So you don't trust me? William also sensed his unease. He entrusted the Amaryllis card to Ryan for emergencies. If you're worried my love for you will fade, I'll complete our deal as soon as possible. I don't distrust you. Ryan leaned against his shoulder. Although William had coaxed him to stay, Ryan still decided to return to Ruden personally to bury his father. He also reminded William not to be jealous of his deceased father. William left Ryan's residence and immediately went to see the Crown Princess. The Crown Princess, who had been waiting for a long time, was crying her eyes out. She threw herself into William's arms like a swallow returning to its nest. I've been waiting for you for so long. I thought you weren't coming. I'm a well-known figure in the palace now. I had to sneak out. The Crown Princess was still upset in his arms. Hearing William's smug tone, her anger flared. She had been tormented by another man all night and was feeling resentful. Not only was he late, but he hadn't even apologized. She slapped William's handsome face. However, she immediately regretted it. She hadn't gotten an apology from William and had wasted her own. I'm sorry. Dulcinea, do you desire me that much? Do you want to put a collar on me that badly? Should I become a dog that only wags its tail and acts cute in front of you? Would that make you happy? The Crown Princess was frightened by his sinister tone and quickly denied it. He continued to provoke her. You're clearly looking at my face, reddened from your slap, and finding it exciting. Don't you think it's a pity? Do you want to leave beautiful wounds on my face with your fingertips? Having lived a past life, William completely understood the Crown Princess's thoughts, but she quickly adjusted her mindset. After all, William's current situation was similar to her own. If I don't save you, you'll just continue to be Michelle's dog. I should be considered your hero, right? Being someone's dog is being someone's dog. So please leave a kiss of loyalty on your hero's foot. The Crown Princess extended her foot urgingly. Seeing William kneel before her, her heart pounded with excitement. She even praised him, saying good boy. But William only kissed the back of her hand. The Crown Princess was furious at this half-hearted gesture in front of her. William wrapped his arms around her waist, continuing to bargain. If you want me to kiss your foot, you have to fall into the abyss like me. The wounds in the Crown Princess's heart were accumulating invisibly. Soon, she too would fall into the abyss. Ryan returned to Ruden, where a mountain of documents awaited him. His mother, having heard that William had received the title of Earl, began to inquire about Ryan and his marriage. Blushing rarely seen on the Lord's face, he quickly excused himself. Ryan had barely settled back in Ruden when a subordinate rushed in, urging him to return to the capital immediately. Reborn into this life, Ryan had vowed to avenge his father and make his ex-husband pay with his life. His loyal dog had just had a secret meeting with his ex-husband's wife, and soon after, Ryan received news of his ex-husband's death. Ryan, who had just returned to his territory and hadn't even begun to address his work, immediately rushed back to the capital. Michelle's body was discovered by a guard. The Crown Prince, who usually slept until noon, was found at midday, having never woken up. The Crown Princess, the last person to see him, stated that the Crown Prince had gone to sleep after their activities that night. She had even thoughtfully lit some calming incense. Seeing the heartbroken Crown Princess, no one suspected her. Even the coroner couldn't determine the cause of death. They could only speculate that it was sudden death or a colorless, odorless poison. The first person imprisoned on suspicion was William. The Empress wailed that it was him. It was him. It was him. The Emperor, having no other choice, had William imprisoned. He thought highly of this son and believed William was responsible. He even visited the prison personally to praise his son for a job well done. William couldn't admit to it. Even if it was his own father, he wouldn't allow himself to be falsely accused. I didn't do anything. If I had designs on the throne, I would have openly used your influence to build my own power. Why would I go to such lengths to pledge allegiance to Michelle? Ultimately, due to lack of evidence, the Emperor released William and allowed him to move into the Crown Prince's residence. However, the Empress was convinced that William was the culprit. She even went to his house and tried to tear his face off. William looked at the crazed woman with disgust. I truly envy the Crown Prince for having such a caring mother. If my mother were still alive, I wonder if she would have loved me this much. After the Empress was sent back to the palace, rumors began to fly. It was said that those who worked in the Crown Prince's palace were beaten so badly they couldn't get out of bed. It was said that the Empress, for her son's sake, had eradicated entire families of women who had one-night stands with the Emperor. It was rumored that the Grand Duke of Ruden's injury was also orchestrated by the Empress. Suddenly, the Empress and Michelle were making headlines. No one pitied her for losing her son. They felt it was karmic retribution. William, who had knelt before Michelle weeks prior and pledged his loyalty, was now the crown prince, residing in the crown prince's palace. His first visitor was Ruden, who had rushed over upon hearing the news. He hadn't even packed his bags before coming through the crystal gate. Seeing his increasingly thin, loyal dog, Ruden was heartbroken. William, seeing the person he had been longing for, was in the mood to joke. "I really missed you. It wasn't right of you to leave me here and run off on your own." Ruden, wanting to hear the details from William, was silenced by a kiss. If it weren't for the maid's intervention, the guards would have witnessed a live show. He stopped William's further advances, but at this moment, William only wanted to celebrate. "Michelle is dead. Aren't you happy?" Ruden couldn't bring himself to be happy. Not only had he not personally carried out the deed, but Michelle had died in his sleep. It was too easy for him. William decided to take him to see something to cheer him up. "What is it? I want to see too." He had been reborn with the obsession of avenging his father. Yet, upon hearing of his enemy's death, he still couldn't feel joy. "My dear goddess of revenge, am I not even allowed to savor the sweet fruit of vengeance?" He had heard of Michelle's death and, worried about William's safety, rushed back to the imperial capital without stopping. William, overjoyed to see Ruden again, enthusiastically invited him to see his collection. Trusting him, Ruden took his hand without hesitation. The two arrived at the underground passage. Ruden hadn't known that the crown prince's residence had a dungeon. He was also curious how the royal knights could so easily obey William's commands. At first, he didn't understand what William meant by, "I just learned from you." It was like how Ruden had appointed the brown-haired man to handle finances. He only understood after William revealed that he too was reborn. Ruden didn't expect the person imprisoned in the dungeon to be the crown princess. Her anxious demeanor suggested she had been tricked by William into coming there, likely to avoid the Empress's revenge. Seeing her long-awaited lover appear with Ruden, she became even more frantic. William wasn't there to comfort her, but to twist the knife. He embraced Ruden, forcing the crown princess to face reality. "I'm here because there are some things you need to tell my master personally." Ruden, restrained, couldn't move. He realized that the things she had kept from him went far beyond just borrowing troops. He demanded an explanation as to why the crown princess was there. The crown princess still believed she was William's true love. "You probably don't know William's true heart. My William is timid and endearing. Although I took your place and caused you pain, I also suffered greatly. Ever since I wore this crown princess's crown, which I never desired, it has brought only mockery and insults. Living in hell, I only wished for one person, but that person was yours. I killed Michelle." The crown princess revealed the truth. "To make the one who swore allegiance to Michelle my husband, I murdered my own husband." Ruden bit his finger in shock. He guessed that William had exploited the crown princess's love. He was also reborn, using his past life's memories just like Ruden. The crown princess was merely a pawn in his revenge. William confessed that in his previous life, he had been the crown princess's slave, subjected to endless abuse. He grasped the crown princess's outstretched hand, his face filled with the satisfaction of revenge. Ruden pushed William away with all his might. "I trusted you so much, and you've been deceiving me all along. Why didn't you discuss this with me before plotting such a horrible thing? People are not tools, but that bastard doesn't understand that." Those were your words. Words that changed my life. He left the writhing crown princess aside and continued to pledge his loyalty to Ruden. Ruden couldn't listen anymore. He only felt that the man before him was terrifying. "I thought we were planning for the same future. But what you've done seems like revenge for your past life. Sir Bill Kalana, didn't you pledge your loyalty to Michelle in front of everyone?" Seeing Ruden treat him like a stranger, William panicked and hugged him tightly, confessing again, "I'm only loyal to you. This is for your father. Those bastards betrayed your love. I want them to experience the same pain. You already possess my soul, so give yours to me as well." Ruden, with tears streaming down his face, hugged him back and began to respond. Despite feeling fear at his declaration of love, for a moment, he understood him. William had also been living in fear. He had done everything in Rhine's place, only hoping to receive love in return. He had been reborn with the conviction of avenging his father. The emperor's illegitimate son, also reborn, had single-handedly orchestrated their revenge without Rhine's knowledge. The crown prince, who had once abandoned Rhine for a woman, was now being sent to his death by the very woman Rhine himself had chosen. The crown princess, who had once abused William, was now hopelessly in love with him. Even seeing him flirt with another woman right in front of her, she still refused to believe it was real. Although she knew the man she loathed was her last lifeline. This man, whom she couldn't win over no matter how hard she tried, was nothing but a trap. Yet, as long as he remembered her, she was content. The crown princess grabbed a spear from outside the cell and pointed it at herself, begging William to look at her one last time. She planned to use her life to prove to him that she was his true love. She believed that men only cherish what they've lost, that what they can't have is the sweetest. She hoped her blood would become a permanent mark on William's heart, that he would suffer for her. But she was mistaken. Of the 3 people outside the cell, only the innocent-looking Rhine, whom she despised most, cared about her life and didn't want her to end it so rashly. The guard merely mocked her for taking the spear. William didn't even glance at her. William, who had long since fallen in love with Rhine, wouldn't care about a small ripple like her. Having seen enough death, he watched the crown princess with indifference as her blood splattered across the scene. The guard sighed, surprised that she had actually ended her life. For him, it was just another story to tell over dinner. William told the guard to dispose of the body however he saw fit, pleased that he had saved a dose of poison and a few copper coins. Only Rhine was truly affected. Shaken, he had witnessed another side of William's cold-blooded nature. Even William's voice startled him. William carried him out of the filthy dungeon, but his warm embrace felt icy to Rhine, sending shivers down his spine. "You must be tired today." The devoted William brought his master water for his feet, but the water, like Rhine's heart, was ice cold. "Do you think I'm tired?" Rhine wondered if William was being sincere. Wasn't he the one who orchestrated all of this? "I know you want to rest, but there's one more thing left to do." The itinerary he had personally arranged for his master today wasn't over yet. Rhine didn't know what else was planned. The image of the crown princess lingered in his mind, refusing to fade. "William, please, tell me what you're thinking." He realized he couldn't understand the man before him at all. William smiled gently, a docile and obedient expression he only wore in Rhine's presence. Hearing a knock, his face turned cold again. Tonight's main course had arrived. "William, what else have you done behind my back?" Rhine was at his limit, unable to bear any more shocks. The unfinished revenge, of course. It must be concluded, but didn't Michel die at his wife's hands? How can I take revenge? William's men carried in a coffin. He had originally intended to bring Michel alive, to force him to kneel before Rhine and repent. But there wasn't enough time. All he could bring was the body. It was a fitting way to let the Empress experience the pain of losing a loved one's remains. He personally handed Rhine a sword, hoping this would also satisfy his master. A smile finally returned to Rhine's face. He drew the sword against Michel's corpse. He had imagined this scene countless times, and finally, he had the chance, even if it was just a corpse. He had been reborn with the desire to avenge his father. Now, with William's help, he had finally achieved his goal. He decided to relax after the bloody battle, to embrace his lover with the hands that had just carried out his revenge. Both of them forgot about the enemy's corpse lying nearby. The transaction had come to an end. After making love for a day and a night, they finally declared a truce, too hungry to continue. William, like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, tackled Rhine onto the bed again. Just a little longer, Rhine sighed. He was curious. News of the crown princess's death should have spread, yet the mansion remained quiet. Perhaps the Empress is too preoccupied now that the murderer she accused is dead. William felt apologetic for flirting with other women and for not letting Rhine's enemy die by his own hand. Unexpectedly, Rhine wasn't jealous at all. He was satisfied that his enemy was dead. He was more interested in hearing about William's past life. Actually, I don't remember much about my previous life. I just wandered in the mountains, William began. I was grateful for any leftovers people gave me. I slept anywhere I could find shelter from the wind. People in the town speculated that I had been abandoned in the snowy mountains. Seeing that I didn't speak much, they called me a fool. They'd call me over for any hard labor, and I'd do it for a few scraps of food. Even those days ended when someone suspected me of stealing gold coins. I was driven back into the mountains and lived in a cave. One day, Michel was passing through the snowy mountains when his carriage got stuck in the mud. He needed someone strong to help. Hearing the commotion, I went to help. That was the first time I met my enemies. The two, having successfully taken their revenge, lay in bed celebrating. It was the first time William had told Ryan about his past life. He had been a simple person, willing to do any work for a meal. Wandering in the snowy mountains, he encountered Michel's entourage. Seeing them in trouble, he offered to help in exchange for some food. But the crown prince, ungrateful, was disgusted that a commoner had touched his carriage and ordered his men to drive William away. William was at a loss, watching his chance for a full stomach slip away. The crown princess, still possessing some compassion back then, heard William's stomach growl and urged the crown prince to let him stay. The road ahead won't be easy for him either. Let him follow us to the next stop. She clung to the crown prince's arm, acting coquettishly, and pleaded for some bread and dried meat for the beggar. Michel, agreeing with the crown princess, allowed William to stay temporarily. At their campsite, William noticed some green plants. He knew that when they bloomed, monsters would descend from the mountains to prey on humans. William shared his discovery with the knights, hoping they would take it seriously. He didn't want his newfound providers to be eaten by monsters. The knights ignored the beggar's warning. Frustrated by their inability to start a fire, they took their anger out on William. They even mistook his attempts to warn them to flee as mischief and beat him up. When William regained consciousness, the knights had all met their gruesome ends. The monsters, assuming William was dead, left him alone. William's body moved instinctively. He grabbed an axe and charged at the monsters attacking the carriage. How dare they attack his meal ticket? They deserve to die. The two huddled inside the carriage, trembling, were stunned by William's prowess. They hadn't expected a beggar to be so skilled in combat. Thus, the duties that had belonged to the knights now fell upon the surviving William. Michel had no other choice but to rely on this beggar to escort him home. He promised to reward William handsomely if he returned to the palace safely. However, an accident occurred as they passed through the crystal gate. The crystal in William's hand didn't shatter, revealing his identity as a bastard to Michel. At the time, William was too naive and unconcerned about his lineage. Michel kept him by his side, and William remained grateful to his supposed savior. William, who had nearly starved to death, was assigned to the knights. Despite the constant gossip he endured, these days ended when the crown princess developed inappropriate feelings for him and was caught red-handed by Michel. Michel, feeling utterly betrayed, gave his wife a severe beating. William was sent to the border to fight against the barbarians. Michel assumed he would die on the battlefield as he'd wished. But not only did William survive, he returned triumphantly, listening to the people chant, "Long live Bjorn Krona." The crown prince felt worse than if he had eaten dirt. That night, he took a whip to William. He even handed the whip to the crown princess, and they proceeded to give William a combined beating. This was the first time William truly opened up to Ryan. He recounted his complicated history with Michel. Initially, he had merely sought to survive in the palace, relying on the supposed debt Michel owed him. Due to his constant manual labor, he maintained a fit physique, which caught the crown princess's eye. Enraged by the betrayal, the crown prince and princess subjected William to a brutal beating. After the beating, the crown prince, filled with disgust, ordered William to leave. The crown princess, however, became strangely enamored with the situation. She couldn't sleep at night without beating William. Michel, aware of this, could only seethe in silence, too ashamed to speak out. But why would a man already on a leash, controlled by the royal couple, offer his loyalty to another master. After Michel became emperor, he bestowed upon William, the fool who could barely speak, the position of salt official. Suddenly free to roam the palace, William felt lost, finding himself drawn to the crown princess's former chambers, though they were now empty. The crown princess, of course, had already moved to the empress's quarters. Overwhelmed by this newfound freedom, William stumbled upon an abandoned warehouse. There, he discovered a portrait of Rhine. Captivated by the girl's smile, he became obsessed. Though just a painting, she was the only one in this vast world who seemed to smile at him. That very day, he asked Michel about the girl, only to be met with a swift and brutal end for merely mentioning her name. Having learned nothing from Michel, William, after some investigation, finally found her. But the girl, whose eyes had once shone so brightly, now held no spark. Was her loyalty rewarded? Faced with Rhine's question, he didn't know how to answer. As a dog on a leash, what reward could I expect? I merely obeyed my master's commands, without any thoughts of my own. People are not tools. These were the first words Rhine spoke that awakened him. Rhine recalled the hateful tone she'd used and wanted to explain herself. But William, now more perceptive, understood she had simply been venting her frustrations while drunk. That night, William's mind raced. He felt as if the girl from that day was telling him to lift his head. He unintentionally overheard, through a crack in the door, Rhine furiously shouting about wanting to chop off Michel's head. William internalized her anger, as if the command were directed at him. Even in his dreams, Rhine commanded him to attack Michel. William desperately wanted to break free from his collar and find a new master, but how? He sought out his target for a solution. Michel scoffed internally. A dog wanting something of its own? He attempted to intimidate William with his words, urging him to be content. But William, unable to grasp the emperor's veiled threats, took Michel's words literally. Everything belongs to someone. To take something from another, either the original owner or the thief must be eliminated. Before William could fully process this, Michel abandoned him. His dying thoughts were only of Rhine, of wanting to belong to her. It seemed the heavens heard his plea, though reborn without his memories, driven only by instinct. When he encountered Rhine again, his hand moved instinctively. Just like that, Rhine became his entire world. Rhine, in his arms, sobbed uncontrollably. She hadn't realized how pitiful his past life had been. Mark my words, pitying a man leads to a lifetime of regret. Reborn together, they shared a common enemy. After William confessed his past life, Rhine wept, pitying him. But his love, like a heavy tsunami, frightened her. I mustered the courage to tell you all this, and if you only cry, it hurts me. Rhine felt that in this life, just like with Michel, she was being used again, and it pained her. William wiped away her tears, telling her not to feel guilty. Wasn't he, the one who used every possible means to get close to her, more deserving of blame? Be happy, he pleaded, just like I'm happy being your dog. Suddenly, Rhine thought of Dietrich. If William had his memories during the battle, sensing her distraction, William, attuned to her every thought, asked, "Are you thinking of Dietrich?" "I am sorry, William." She leaned against him. That man held a precious place in her heart as a dear friend. But William, though he didn't voice his displeasure, darkened visibly. I often think of him too. If only I had sensed the ambush and gone to help. Unfortunately, I only fully regained my memories after his death. He apologized to Rhine, while secretly resenting Dietrich for holding such a significant place in her heart. Because of this resentment, he often acted recklessly on the battlefield, earning him reprimands. Dietrich even threatened to complain to Rhine. This only fueled William's resentment. "If you act alone again, I'll write to Rhine and tell her William cries every night, longing for the Viscount." Finally relenting, he wrote to her, "Rhine, I love you deeply. I want to be your husband." The two inevitably argued and cried. "I'm sorry, I killed him," William sobbed, racked with guilt. The night of their successful revenge, they held each other, weeping, blaming themselves, and apologizing. Confessing their love, they officially became a couple, reveling in their newfound happiness. Meanwhile, the crown prince and princess's funeral concluded, leaving the empress as the sole grieving party. Seeing Rhine, dressed elegantly, laughing and chatting at the funeral, the empress ground her teeth in fury. Unable to contain her rage, she fainted, bringing the crown prince's funeral to an abrupt end. Suddenly, the deposed Rhine, and the savage prince were the talk of the empire. The Grand Lord of Loudon deliberately dedicated the celebratory fireworks to her pregnancy, though everyone knew it was a celebration of Michelle's death. Elsewhere, the long-absent Dietrich reappeared, busy repairing a fence for his savior. Back in the palace, the lovers continued their affections, but even if Rhine agreed to stay longer, she would eventually return to her territory. William, now the crown prince, confined to the palace, clung to her, wishing she would abandon her territory and stay forever. A maid's arrival prompted Rhine to push William away and attend to official business. Learning the maid was returning to Loudon to marry, Rhine called her over to offer a gift and congratulations. William, dejectedly hugging himself, dropped his act of vulnerability upon hearing Rhine mention Dietrich's name. Rhine asked the maid to visit Dietrich's grave upon her return. Though there was no body or belongings, it was a place for remembrance. The maid attempted to continue the conversation about Dietrich, but William's beastly glare sent her scurrying away. Matters in Loudon had piled up, and everyone hoped their lord would return soon. Only the maid, more perceptive, suspected their lord might never return. Nothing in Mother Dietrich's grave? He was puzzled after hearing this from the lord. He had collected Dietrich's belongings while tidying the tent and given them to William. How could they be missing? Recalling William's earlier look, he felt a chill. William had hidden the belongings and not given them to the lord. He decided to stay silent. William, so enamored with the lord, would surely want to return the belongings quickly. He couldn't speak of this until he was certain. The lovers continued their courtship, unaware that someone in a remote village had spotted Dietrich. The two reborn souls finally found love. Neither Rhine's father's sword nor her supposedly deceased childhood friend could stop William from being with the one he loved. But they didn't know that someone temporarily offline could log back in. They prepared for the New Year's banquet. Rhine, dressed magnificently, a rare sight, made William even more possessive. "I hate those nobles kissing your hand tonight," he grumbled. Rhine urged him to the banquet. His constant jealousy was troublesome. It made things difficult for her. After the initial pleasantries, Rhine slipped away to complain. "The Lord of Cello told me young, handsome men don't cherish their partners, and that I should spend the rest of my life with him." Such words, reaching the jealous prince's ears, were unacceptable. He planned to erase the lord's territory after the banquet. "Every day in my past life was filled with despair, but now it's endless happiness. My love for you won't fade. You'll return to Loudon after the banquet, right? But without you by my side, I'll fall back into despair." He took out the ring he'd prepared and proposed amidst the New Year fireworks, hoping Rhine would stay with him forever. Loudon's new treasurer, lost in the remote mountains, encountered Dietrich and successfully brought back news. Dietrich was staying at the village chief's house, recovering from a cold. While strolling with the village chief, he met Phyllis and her wife. The chief claimed Phyllis had been rescued from barbarians by Lenny while hunting, but the treasurer was skeptical. It was hard to imagine the petite woman overpowering barbarians. Considering their height difference, the man didn't seem like someone who'd be captured. No lord would leave such a promising soldier in a remote village. The treasurer suspected Phyllis was a deserter and should be reported. Loudon wouldn't tolerate deserters. He inquired about Phyllis's origins, only to learn he had amnesia. Though envious of their love, his professional ethics prevented him from being fooled by such a flimsy lie. He prepared to report it. Lenny panicked, knowing desertion was a serious offense. Disregarding Phyllis's modesty, she pulled a pendant from his shirt. "This was around his neck when I rescued him. Only nobles wear such silver pendants." Phyllis was unconscious, being dragged away, but he protected this pendant. He couldn't be a deserter. The treasurer recognized the pendant and revealed Phyllis's identity. "You're Dietrich, Lord Rhine's first knight." The maid, instead of joy, felt fear and unease, thinking of William. In the new year, William formally proposed, offering his second life. With the ring he wore when they first met, Rhine slowly closed the box, rejecting him. Marrying him meant her territory would revert to the crown. Her efforts would be wasted. "Will there be yours and mine after marriage? What's mine will be yours. The royal territories will be yours." Having been betrayed, Rhine didn't trust William's reassurances. "I'd sooner believe in ghosts than a man's unchanging heart. I've decided. If you want my heart, we can marry. Otherwise, no." "All right, I understand." William picked her up, intending to show her something. Rhine, misinterpreting his understanding, thought he was frustrated and planned to claim his husbandly rights. William simply led her to a portrait of the first emperor. The The ring was a relic from his reign. He hoped the ring's significance would change her mind. She still refused. He held her close, discarding the useless ring. "My master, my everything exists for you. I will always follow your command." He pinned Rhine against the wall, about to do something, when patrolling soldiers caught them. William slept soundly, unaware of the storm awaiting him. Rhine, like a ghost, stood by the bed. She threw a cloth-wrapped sword at his feet, demanding an explanation. "Why do you have Dietrich's only relic?" William had kept the sleeve she'd torn for both men as a farewell gesture. Rage contorted her face. Remembering Dietrich's empty coffin, tears streamed down her cheeks. William, once so proud to receive the relic, was now terrified. "When you heard of Dietrich's death, you were practically grinning." I missed the best time to tell you," he stammered, falling to his knees. "After the war, you were so heartbroken. The strong you I knew suddenly became so fragile. I couldn't bear to see you hurt more. To see a strong man cry like that." Rhine softened, but recognized he was shifting the blame. "Did you distrust me so much?" After arguing, William abandoned his "I'll do better next time" excuse, blaming her entourage while he was all alone, terrified of losing her. He'd planned to hide it forever until he was caught. "Are you hiding anything else from me?" Exhausted, Rhine couldn't handle more secrets. Her heart couldn't take it. "No." Thunder rumbled outside. William's eyes darted nervously. He had one card left. He hesitated. "Actually, I gave you your second life. I was dying when I met a dragon. He said my blood smelled like his long-lost lover. He asked me to end his life. In exchange, he'd give me and my beloved a second chance." William's ancestor, Lilith, was the dragon's lover. She promised to return to him after 9 lives. But it was her descendant who came. The dragon left only this ring. William doubted his time with Rhine was real. He regretted his hasty revenge. At least while Michelle lived, he was useful to Rhine. Now, she had no use for him. He sobbed pathetically. Rhine felt a pang of guilt, going from victim to perpetrator. How could she blame her savior? William knelt again, sincerely apologizing. "I won't lie again. Don't leave me." He was easily forgiven. "If you lie again, I will leave." Rhine's anger faded. To repay him, she offered to grant one wish, excluding marriage or lies. From discovering his deceit to owing him a favor took only one rainstorm. The next morning, William woke up alone. Rhine had gone to Grincha to verify his story. He'd claimed his memory returned after Dietrich's death. Yet, others observed his uncanny knowledge of barbarian movements since the war began. What do you do when your partner constantly hides things from you? This time, Rhine decided to investigate herself. Arriving in Grincha, she learned William's memory had returned mid-war. They simply assumed he was a war genius. A pang of pain shot through Rhine. He had lied. Knowing the barbarians would attack, he deliberately didn't send reinforcements to Dietrich. Rhine collapsed, her heartbreak evident even to strangers. The pain of her childhood friend being killed by someone she loved was unbearable. He betrayed the teacher who mentored him. Pell arranged lodging for the unconscious Rhine, asking if she wanted to return to the capital. The crown prince was surely waiting. "Back to Ruden," she whispered, unsure how to face William. Before she left, Ruden's steward arrived, having ridden tirelessly to Grincha upon learning she was there, bringing Dietrich with him. Rhine couldn't believe her eyes. Dietrich, presumed dead, stood before her. She was too stunned to hear what they were saying. Dietrich, with no memory, knelt in a perfect knight's salute. "It's an honor to meet you, my lord." Lost memories assaulted Rhine's mind. The steward explained Dietrich's amnesia in marriage. Annie apologized, swearing she hadn't seduced Rhine's knight. She feared being separated from her new husband. "Thank you so much." Rhine beamed. Dietrich's survival was the best news. She reinstated him as her knight and kept Annie as a handmaiden. The reunited couple embraced. After everyone left, Rhine was alone with her childhood friend. Happiness warred with complex emotions. Joy, grief, elation, loneliness, all mingled within her. Her body began to change. In the capital, William reread Rhine's letters, consumed by longing. His father, the emperor, grew increasingly frustrated. He thought Michelle was useless, but this replacement was worse. William ignored his father's commands. Rumors of his strained relationship with the Grand Lord spread, but he remained oblivious. Ruden's envoy arrived, demanding the return of Marquis Link's sword. "Tell him to come get it himself." William didn't even look at the emperor, treating him as a mere messenger. The emperor fumed. This rebellious son was a disgrace to the royal family. I've changed my mind. I'm going to Ruden. The emperor jumped as William abruptly stood. Do you think he'll let you in? William took the sword and set off. With Marquis Link's sword, he has no reason to refuse me. Back in Ruden, Ryan deactivated the teleportation gate. William and his guards rode day and night. He saw Dietrich approaching. William felt a chill run down his spine, a sense of disbelief washing over him. Thanks to you, I barely made it back alive. However, the Lord refuses to see you. When ill or pregnant, the Lord has the right to refuse royal visits. William's hand trembled around his sword. Pregnant? With Dietrich's child? After only 5 months? Dietrich continued, twisting the knife. The Lord is indeed with child. I hope my adorable child, soon to be born, is a girl. Seeing William's hand move towards his sword, Dietrich relayed Rhine's final message. The only reason you're still alive is because I am. When I raise my sword, it will be to declare war on the Empire. He turned and returned to the city, closing the gates, leaving William and his men outside. William, losing control, yelled for Rhine, desperate to explain. Have you forgotten our promise? He descended into madness. While their child could already walk, this couple was still playing a chase game. One desperately trying to escape, but unable to, the other clinging like glue. Even threats of self-harm didn't work. He invoked their original agreement, keeping her for 3 days. For 3 days, Rhine endured, feeling like a commodity. She ignored the rumors about him. William toyed with her like a doll, wanting to lock her away, to possess her completely, so she couldn't leave. Wasn't this what love was? William woke to find her gone. She left a farewell kiss, a confusing mixture of love and decisive departure. Both grieved the separation, unable to move past the betrayal. Much time passed. The former villains faded away. Dietrich and his former friend rekindled their friendship. They joked at the Empress's funeral. The Crown Prince, after a year, finally saw a familiar face. He rushed into Dietrich's arms. Look, I don't waste food anymore, and I've grown taller. I don't cry either. But why didn't Mother come? He's just very busy. Dietrich lied, flustered. The prince, who just boasted about not crying, teared up. He really wanted to come, but he's been polishing things. He doesn't have time. This time, he wasn't lying. He felt a little relieved. Is Mother scared? Does he have to stand in front of everyone? The sweet child worried about his mother. I'll tell him you're worried. When can I see Mother? The servants said 100 days. I've counted 99 already. You came in place of your mother. She probably won't come this time. The prince's maturity tugged at Dietrich's heart. He promised the prince that Rhine would visit in another 100 days. Rhine's partner in defending against the monsters was a woman who had a crush on William. She was the younger sister of Dietrich's close friend, Grentia. She had fallen in love with William at first sight during his coronation ceremony. After a public confession, she was banished to Dietrich's hometown and forbidden from returning to the capital. She was shocked when she heard about His Majesty's love story from others. His Majesty had such a miserable past. The Grand Lord of Loudon even used him and kicked him to the curb after achieving their goals. That's not something a decent person would do. From then on, she held a grudge against Loudon and the Grand Lord. She even took the opportunity during a war strategy meeting to ask Rhine to give up William. Grentia was speechless at his sister's actions. Sierra, I value my friendship with Grentia, so I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Rhine, for the sake of their family's relationship, tried to ignore it. However, Sierra interpreted this as Rhine not wanting the man for herself, nor wanting anyone else to have him. She was instantly filled with even more pity for the emperor. How could he fall for such a vixen? She drew her sword, ready to declare war. Dietrich took this opportunity to bring the matter to William for a decision. William, now emperor, exuded an aura of despair and death. He spoke words of gratitude, but his face remained expressionless. He readily agreed to Grentia's request for aid. Before Grentia could celebrate, he was stunned by Dietrich's request. He asked the emperor to personally lead the expedition. Since Sierra couldn't come to the capital, Dietrich wanted the emperor to go to her. He even lied in front of everyone to achieve this. He's struggling alone in the north. He begged me to relay a message to your majesty. The situation is dire and requires your assistance. Furthermore, Loudon, as an ally, is extremely difficult to deal with. Grentia suspected Dietrich was using this as an excuse to push his sister and William together. He silently prayed William would just send money and stay away. Dietrich added fuel to the fire. I saw Prince Davin before I came. He misses his mother terribly. A child not even 10 years old can't leave the capital alone. Please go to the north with him. All of this was so the child could see his mother. William rose and left, only agreeing to send troops. I heard you recovered your memories. It was a lie. If you had your memories, you would never ask me to go north. Loudon's knights are truly lax. Back in his room, William laughed. He had thought Dietrich remembered everything, but it was all a facade. The man who once treasured Rhine now dared to let William near her. Rhine wasn't living happily with Dietrich. Seizing the opportunity, William raced to the crown prince's palace. He broke down the sealed door with an axe. He had given up, believing he would never see Rhine again. Now, it seemed those careless fools couldn't guarantee her safety. William knew he was a prison, a poison that would only bring her pain. Yet, he couldn't resist. Prince Davin thought his father had come to see him. He was terrified of the father he had only met 3 times. For the first time, William looked at his son and gave a gentle smile. He embraced his son, but Davin didn't know that the person his father held was a hostage, a key to seeing Rhine. Let's go see your mother. Finally, I wish everyone peaceful breakups.